Mama said don't talk to strangers? That's okay. We'll do it for you. Welcome to the Bar Talk Podcast, where we talk to interesting people doing interesting shit.
So this is now podcast number 14?
Yeah, 14.
Yeah, I found them on YouTube last night.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you.
Because it just visually looks rad. And the fact that it's more than just a podcast, it's a video podcast. Is there a different name for that? Video podcast?
A vodcast.
Vodcast?
Maybe?
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's on the YouTube, and it's on YouTube in video, and it's on Spotify in video.
Oh, okay.
And then audio on Apple and Amazon.
Yeah.
First time I clicked on Spotify, I thought I was just listening to a podcast and the video came up on my screen. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you might as well upload it to all the places.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes to Spotify, and then they just put it everywhere. Spotify's trying to be like the home for podcasts now.
Okay.
Yeah, but they don't share the video with other people. They only share the audio, so they kind of have a bit of a leg up there.
Okay, so then what do they do with the video? Just if you're a member of Spotify? Or
Yeah, you have to have a membership, but I don't think you pay for it.
Okay.
The ads come up, I think, otherwise, yeah. And I wasn't going to do the video at first, but Ben pushed me because I don't want to overwhelm myself.
Right.
So I want to go just audio for like the first 6 months or a year. But he's like, no, we can do it, mate. I'm like, you're right, we can. So we went.
Perfect accent, by the way.
Second episode.
Yeah, he nailed it, didn't he?
I'll make fun of your accent.
Oh, no, please, go for it. It's fine.
Well, I'm sitting here with Jocelyn, and we did the Grapevine newspaper together for 8 years, many years ago now, and we dabbled with the podcast.
Oh, did you?
So we were kind of cutting edge back then.
Yeah, 8 years ago would be, yeah.
Well, we ran it for 8 years, but it was... When was the first year we did one? I don't know. It was probably like 2015, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of work. It was a different format than what this is. I was trying to do like a compilation sort of podcast. I would interview people and cut all that stuff and then kind of play it all together, kind of one continuous take. So it was more like not a news report, but just different than just two people talking.
So the Grapevine was, well, let's introduce you.
Oh, hey.
So this is Jeremy Novak.
Yeah, that
right?
is my last name, yeah.
And I know you mostly from the Graveyard Tours,
Yeah.
which we'll get in, but you started the thing called the Grapevine, which was like a paper?
I didn't start the Grapevine, but
Okay.
that is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Jocelyn and I co-owned and ran it for 8 years together.
okay.
And by the time I left, the team had grown to a team of 6.
Wow.
My time had come to an end. I was kind of getting burnt out by that a little bit. So I left. Jocelyn hung on for another couple of years. And we're both ecstatic that the paper continues, but not with us.
So was it like a valley, was it entertainment kind
Yeah,
of focus?
arts, culture,
Okay.
and events. That's basically. It
Events.
was always a very handy paper. It still is a handy paper.
Yeah.
We weren't the ones who started it, though.
And it's still on paper.
It's still an actual,
Which is rare.
countertop publication. I know. Yeah, it is rare. We got up to, I think our largest issue was about 5,800 copies, and one issue had about 28 pages. So that felt robust.
Yeah.
I always felt like it lacked teeth because you're in a small town and you don't want to really get too into the weeds because everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
So if we were to offer a little bit of criticism, someone said you got to master the art of the shit sandwich, right? Big old fluffy bun of positivity, a little layer of criticism, and end it with a big old fluffy bun.
Especially if you go looking for sponsors and ads and stuff like that.
And that's what it was because it was a free paper, so it was
Yeah.
all ad based.
Right.
So we try to stay out of trouble, positive, uplifting type
Yeah.
of stuff, and there's no shortage of that in the valley.
Right.
So if that's going to be your focus, then you can still make a go of it. Absolutely, you can. We never, I can't say we never lost money on an issue, but when we looked at the per hour rate we were getting, we didn't do it for the money, that's for darn sure. But it gave us, for me specifically, a role within the community, right? It gave me something to do, and I could fit in. I could contribute in the way I did it. So I was a hunter and gatherer. I would find all the events and people would email the Grapevine and I'd be the one responding to everybody. And then I'd pass it on to Jocelyn and she'd make it look pretty. So she was a layout and graphics and ad building and things like that. So we had a good division of labor and it worked out well. We Adam Barnett started it though, 2003, I think that's when he started. He was an Acadia student and it was a project, he was taking rec management. And he would go to the individual poster boards and scribble down all the notes of all the posters. He said to me later, he would later take photos of it and just do that at home. It was more efficient. So very humble roots, and it was printed at the Acadia print shop. So it was like black and white.
Right.
And so when we inherited it, it was after Andy and Ariana, if you know them, the two musicians. They came on after Adam, and then we were the third owners of it. And we took it from the black and white photocopied sort of version to actual newsprint. And that was pretty exciting because now it was in color and it just felt like a step in the right direction. And so the whole small business growth, entrepreneurial type of thing, that's what I'm really all about.
Yeah.
So Valley Ghost Walks, certainly small business, but room for growth. And now where it's at tours. That's the thing I'm really focusing on now. Yeah. If the world can travel, they're coming to the Valley, as you know.
Yeah.
Right. So
Nova Scotia's a beautiful spot.
Stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Where's home for you originally? Where did you grow up?
Weymouth.
All right, so just further down.
Yeah, further down.
You're
Been
a
in
local.
Digby for like 20 years and then opened this place here like 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years in October.
But didn't you start the Digby Roof Hound first?
Yeah, I had 2 full dining rooms like in October of 2019. And then COVID happened and Digby being a tourist town, no tourism for 2 years.
Yeah.
That one just didn't make it. So I still brew there. But the only tap room restaurant is here now.
So there's no brewery here. You bring it all up.
Yeah.
That's a little inconvenient, or?
Well, I mean, I'm coming up here anyway. I live down there.
Oh, you live down there.
I'm coming up
Okay.
here to, help serve at the restaurant and do this, and so I'm on the road all the time.
How long of a drive is that? Is that an hour?
It's an hour.
It is
and
an
my
hour.
truck is not 3 years old yet, and I have over 200,000 kilometers.
There's a lot of kilometers.
A lot of kilometers.
That's all your trips to the city to watch concerts. That's
a
what
little
that
bit
is.
of that. A little. Well, no, not all that, but there's some of that. And I go to the city to deliver kegs. So or kegs or bottles. Took a pallet to NSLC yesterday, and then stayed in the city to go to a concert.
So I had a ghost walk last night at the Grand Prix Winery, and afterwards I was just wired, and so I had so many emails to work on, and so I was just going, and I had your podcast with Ray Bear.
Yeah.
It was like a 3-hour show, so that was on the background.
Yeah, he's a good bud.
Yeah. So the two of you had a good banter back and forth.
Yeah.
But one of the things you mentioned was during COVID, how you would deliver the beer, right? Like that's how you kind of adjusted during that time. You might have had to close down that spot there, but the beer deliveries, that would really supplemented a lot.
Yeah, I was dropping beer on like 40 doorsteps a day.
Oh my word.
Yeah. It was just all out, like all I could handle. Because people wanted to drink. People were stuck home. They wanted to drink.
Nothing better to do, right?
They'd send e-transfers, and I was just brewing and delivering beer like crazy.
You dropped some Bar Dog Stout on my doorstep once,
that's
for
right.
sure.
Yeah, that's right. And that was so
delicious.
huge for people like to support us through that. Because when you have a restaurant and then it's suddenly closed, I mean, the staff were getting money, but the business still has like all this overhead and all this stuff. So it was very, very gracious of people to, drink.
Well, that also probably would have got your name out there, so double-edged sword. It sucks to have to go through that, but you didn't just sit back as an entrepreneur.
No.
You said, how can I make this work? Right?
That was stressful times though. Because you
would
got
have
to
been.
adapt and survive as real time. It was very stressful.
Well,
Because you don't know how long it's going to last.
Well, no, you
don't
don't.
know if you're going to have at the early days, we thought, some of the Chinese numbers saying 10% of the people are dying. It's like, holy smokes, are we going to be dealing with that? What are we dealing with here?
But you're dealing with brick and mortar. You're dealing with employees. You're dealing with a lot more responsibility. All the entrepreneurial stuff that I'm talking about is just single kind of solopreneur type of things where, okay, I'll adjust as well, but I don't have all these extra stresses that I have to worry about.
Oh, yeah. Because it's probably 13 employees, and this is how they raise their families and pay their bills and all that stuff. It's a lot, but I love it.
I think you mentioned, Bear, that you just sort of jumped into the whole restaurateur thing.
I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I had no idea at all. I got on MasterChef Canada, so I thought I could cook, which you can cook, but just because you can cook doesn't mean you can run a restaurant.
Two different things.
Two different things. And this idiot opens a restaurant and a brewery the same day, having no experience in either one. What a dummy.
Well, you didn't ever brew beer before?
Home brewer, but not on that scale.
Right.
Like I went from 20-liter batches to 1,000-liter batches overnight.
Okay.
The people drank my first batch in 2 days.
It doesn't scale linearly.
No.
We found that out.
Yeah, Ben brewed with me for a couple years. Yeah.
Changing
yeah.
the size of the batch is not
It's
linear
not, it's
process.
not easy. It's some trial and error. But there's always alcohol in it, and people are always happy to drink it. So, but you have to, like my first review of the beer was worse than bad homebrew.
Did you keep that? Did you highlight that one? Is that in like
I had to laugh. It was true.
You
You gotta
should get it
print
on
that
a
off.
T-shirt, actually.
But when you go from 20-liter batches in your laundry room to a 1,000-liter batch, you're not gonna nail it
No.
first time.
No.
But then I think it was within a year, we won best IPA in Atlantic, Canada.
Well, hey, that's
Ben and I.
a real cool
Redemption
part.
story.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
have to, all right, worse than bad homebrew, back to the drawing board. Let's work this shit out.
And now, how many different products do you have on tap here? Like how many?
10
You have
10
10
on tap.
core products that you.
No, they're not all core. Probably 5 of them are core, and the
Okay.
rest are seasonal. So I'll just I'm gonna do like a black IPA for Halloween and like an Oktoberfest coming in. There's some things that come around like annually. Like
Yeah.
we do chocolate stouts for Christmas and stuff like that.
And you are the head brewmaster?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And how many days a week are you actually physically in the restaurant here?
probably 2 to 3.
Okay.
2 to 3 days.
And are you ever cooking here at all?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
So
No,
you're
no.
running the
Cooking,
show.
I've learned cooking at home and being creative and cooking for your family is completely different than being in the kitchen. And the chits are flying out and there's servers and like I did it a little while. I can't do it. My attention deficit just can't do it.
So when,
I like to be home drinking whiskey and
Yeah.
barbecuing. That's my jam. Or brewing.
Yeah.
Because when you're brewing, okay, there's 12 hours. I'm settled in. You got to process. No one can bother you. You
That's
can't
right.
go anywhere. You can't be interrupted because once you start this batch of beer that's
Pretty
worth
important.
$10,000, you
Yeah.
got to finish it. And you just follow your schedule and you put your headphones on, you listen to podcasts and you do your thing. And no one bothers you. And there's no chits flying out at you saying, make this, make that.
There's hard work and there's the hours involved. There's
Yeah.
definitely there, but it is a different thing.
Peaceful.
I have not worked in this kitchen. I've seen it. No. That's stressful. It's a different kind of thing though. You gotta
yeah.
you gotta get all these efficiencies about me working in a kitchen, right?
Yeah.
I've done other kitchen stuff, right? It's all about like minimizing the amount of time
Time
the amount of time you
management.
put down the
When they
batches
get
or
a table of 12 people and they're all ordering different shit and they all want modifications, like you got to be on the ball to
Yeah.
get that out like hot and ready. Like my cooks are amazing. There's 2 guys from Nepal, 1 guy from India, and they're awesome.
they can handle it. They
Oh,
can
they
handle
can
those
handle it.
12 shits coming in at
No
one.
problem at all. It's
Chits.
the best
Yeah.
staff I've ever had. They're ballers. They could do. I can't even comprehend what they're doing as I'm watching them.
Okay.
Like I come up with the recipes and the menu and stuff like that, but once the creative part's done, they just make it work.
Okay, so you do get involved with
Oh, yeah.
what the menu should look
Yeah,
like
yeah,
and
yeah.
What the taste should kind of
Oh, yeah.
be like.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the things I've created. My son now is getting more involved in that.
Yeah, I just met him, Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas,
He's
yeah.
taller than you now.
Hey, now.
He is though.
It's all hair. Hair and heel. I think he wears heels.
Oh, you think?
I think so.
Maybe some risers, eh? In his
Yeah, I
shoes.
think so. He stuffs his shoes with
Both of you were like 6'5", though?
like 6'5" and a half.
Yeah, you're not a small fella.
No. I'm over 200 pounds now, but so is he. I have to get my diet dialed in and my workout dialed in just so I can stay bigger than him.
If you weren't 200 pounds, though, you'd be a beanpole. So
I was 165 pounds when I graduated high school.
yeah, like
and I
I
was
said.
this tall.
Okay,
Yeah.
you've filled in a little bit.
A little bit.
All right.
Age does that to you. Age in brewing and restaurant business will fill you out. a
No,
little
I
bit.
think you mentioned your age there, so I'm thinking your grad was mid-90s.
Yeah, 96.
There we go.
How about you?
A few years after that, 98.
98.
Yeah, so we're pretty close.
Pretty close.
It's the great chest hair and the bad hip that I
Well.
know I'm getting old now.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I got the gray hair too. My son and I were in the city last night to see a concert, and we go to a place and they ID'd me. Like
They ID'd you.
they ID'd me. Like
that
I'm
kind of-
pretty old.
An ego boost a little bit, but also like what a dum dum. Like who's
I am clearly old man. Not only am I old enough to drink, my son is old enough to drink.
Hey,
so
he may have not had his glasses or his contacts in or something. You never know.
I don't know.
first day on the job, just taking it super serious.
I guess so.
The concert was good though.
It was very good. It was
And
fun.
who you mentioned the name, but I don't know.
Jordy Kiefer. He's
Okay.
from California.
All right.
Yeah, filled the marquee. It was fun.
The Marquee's always good times.
Oh,
though.
marquee's great.
Is that what you're making here in Kingston? The Kingston
Maybe.
Marquee? Is that what
That'd
you're
be
going
great.
for?
Well, part of the reason I got into this business, because I love like comedy and music, live music.
Okay.
After COVID, it's harder. It's harder to get people out, I find, for music and stuff like that. People, their habits have changed so much since COVID. People want to just go out early and go home, it seems. And now with the inflation and the economy and stuff, people don't always have the money. But,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a build it and then we'll come thing, I hope. Our comedy nights are huge here.
Okay.
But the live music doesn't seem to catch on in this neighborhood as much.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But the comedy does.
Comedy does.
So
yeah.
is there a bit of a scene then? Is there a bit of a comedic?
Yeah, we
sort
do
of thing?
comedy here every couple months, and it always sells out. And we're going to be starting.
Is that Joey Malone? Is he part of that at all?
I think
have
that
you
name
met up
is
with Joey?
familiar.
Okay, maybe he's been here.
It's
a little bit.
Dan Henrikin is the guy that does. He's from the city.
Okay, and he comes down.
like organizes it all every time and hosts it. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I've been getting into on the YouTube now is I found him just kind of recently Kill Tony.
Yeah,
My word.
That's the kind of concept we're going to try to do here.
Yeah.
So have a local comedian be like the host.
Sure.
Kind of razz people, get people up, and critique it. And we're going to try and really build like a local comedy scene here.
Good.
Yeah, like everybody do like a couple minutes. I think Ben's working on a couple minutes. I guess some other friends. I've done one set already.
Oh,
It
you
was a lot
have?
of fun. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you got up there in front of people.
Got
That's
up there
not
and
easy to
backing
do.
out last October. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was a preacher for 10 years. I don't know if you
I
knew
did
that.
not know about that.
Yeah,
No, I did
so
not know.
Telling, being in a microphone in front of a bunch of people.
You can handle that.
Yeah, it's not so scary. You just replace the scripture with dick jokes.
Yeah.
It's
Bit of a left turn,
a
but
little bit of left turn, but the concept's the same.
speaking in front of people.
Just the only unforgivable sin is don't be boring. It's the same, whatever you're doing with a microphone, right?
What Kill Tony mentioned, Tony Heathcliff, I think that's the last name. He's like, I'm training assassins. So
Yeah.
the whole Kill Bill
He's an
concept.
assassin.
He is. So, but
He
he
is
wants
sharp.
to, so he finds talent
Yeah.
and he gives anyone a chance.
Yeah.
And if you don't have to be the best, but if you're trying, he's going to respect that. But if
Yeah.
you waste that minute that he gives you, then he's going to roast you real
It's going to
hard.
be entertaining one way or the other.
Absolutely.
It's like karaoke. The great singers are entertaining.
And
the
the bad
terrible
singers-
ones are just as entertaining for a whole different
whole,
reason.
the singing show when they're searching
American
for
Idol?
There we go.
Yeah.
Like the first episodes, all
Yeah.
Those
horrible
those are
ones.
the only ones that anyone ever watches, I think.
They were the best, though.
Yeah.
And these people are so mad and like, you'll regret this. You'll regret cutting me. You'll see I'm a star.
So I do like what you're doing here. You showed me the building. This building's massive. Like you
It's
said,
huge.
1,700 square feet or something.
70,000 square feet.
17,000
yeah.
square
It's big.
feet. Yeah, that's what I meant. And so the restaurant's currently maybe not even half of that.
No, like 2,500 or something like
Right.
that.
And
Yeah.
so you got a big space. This studio's actually pretty nice here.
big, yeah.
I mean, looking at the YouTube video, I was like, okay, we're going into some cool thing. I haven't
Thanks.
been here yet.
Yeah.
But then you got all the space here.
So much room for activities.
So much room. So whether it's a stage you're talking about,
Yeah, a little
or
stage.
barbershop you're talking about, maybe.
Yep. Well, this room is going to be more like the restaurant side of it. It gets so noisy and stuff, and there's like kids and stuff. But like we're going to make more of like a lounge area.
Yep.
So people can have like more whiskey and wine and stuff like that, and kind of a quieter place for people just kind of hang out if they just want to drink. And then this would be the side where we can start comedy, because right now we don't start comedy or music till after the restaurant closes at like 9:00.
Mm-hmm.
So that's tough, right? People don't want to go out late.
Yeah.
And when you have to wait for dinner to be done at 9, so this way we can still have dinner going on over there, and we could start music or comedy like more sensible hour, like 7 or 8.
Thanks for being entrepreneurial. Thanks for investing in this valley and
I love it.
to try to make it happen,
Yeah.
right? Like, because this it takes some guts and some balls,
Risk.
and risk,
Yeah.
exactly. But you're willing to do it. You got the building,
yeah.
so you might as well use the building.
Right. I feel a little bit like Walt Disney. When he bought, I think the plot of land he bought in Florida was like 30,000 acres or something crazy like that. He had all kinds of room for his dreams. It's like, well, I'm going to have room for my dreams here for a while. It's going to keep me busy, this big building.
We'll call you Walt. Yeah.
Not quite the same scale, but yeah.
Do you ever spend time in Wolfville? Do you ever
I
spend
do.
time there?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's
Love
where
Wolfville.
more or less I am now. I
Yeah.
technically live in the Gasbro Valley, which is stunning. I love the
Yeah,
Gasbro.
beautiful.
It's gorgeous. But you must know Will and Dan, who run
Oh, yeah,
Troy.
yeah. Troy's one of my favorite places.
You can get the Roof Hound.
Yeah,
You get the
they've
Barst
been a
Dog.
customer there for a long time.
I've
yeah.
seen you on
And
their
I
menu.
see they're opening like a speakeasy.
Well, that's what
kind
I'm
of
getting
thing.
at.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't
That's
know anything
exciting.
about- It is exciting.
Yeah, Will showed me the space when I was down last time. Deliver some kegs.
Well, lucky you. I asked Will the same question. He said, no, it's not ready yet. I can't
No,
show
it's
you.
not ready yet.
I know, but he didn't even show me.
I don't know. Maybe Will likes me better than he likes
I
you.
guess.
I don't know.
I'm a bit jelly.
Maybe he's just waiting for the big unveil for you because you're like that guy. You're the guy that promotes all this stuff.
Well, I do like talking about things. It's not
Yeah.
hard to say good things about this valley.
Yeah.
I just fell in love with it. Like, I've been here for about 21 years.
So you're not from here?
No, I'm originally
wow.
from Vancouver.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and I stumbled upon Wolfville 2003, and I just kind of fell in love with it. It's just an amazing spot.
It really is.
The community is great. The whole valley, like Wolfville is where I kind of gravitated towards. But I learned that you can't have Wolfville without all the other communities as well, because
Right.
every one of these communities serves a really important role in making the valley, and then Nova Scotia, right? It's all community based,
Yeah.
and the level of pretentiousness out here is very low.
Pretty low.
I love that.
Yeah.
One of the most endearing things about Nova Scotians is how proud we are when you find a Frenchie score. Because you got to tell the world, look
You
at this
don't-
shirt, man.
You don't
Like,
brag about how much you pay
no,
for
how
something.
little
How
you pay.
little you pay.
Isn't
for
that
shit.
refreshing?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's much better, and it's sustainable as well. It's
It
great.
is. Yeah, it's less waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And it's a little bit of like a treasure hunt kind of feel, right?
Yeah, we got to root through those bins.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you think that's gross, then maybe you're not cut out for
Right.
Nova Scotia,
Go somewhere else.
Yeah, go back to Vancouver.
Like it's a skill issue. You just couldn't find any of the good stuff.
Oh, I grew up digging through Frenchie's bins. Yeah, it was just how I grew up. Well, down Weymouth, Clare way.
Oh, yeah,
so
there's a
many.
lot of
That's
Frenchies
like
down
the
there.
motherlode down there. Yeah.
So actually, that's where I found Jerome's outfit.
Really?
Down there, I was, no, you know what? Hang on, check that. It was southern New Brunswick there, I felt, not southern Nova Scotia. But I saw a three-piece, well, it was actually a two-piece suit. My story changes as I tell it.
That's all right.
But it was hanging on the wall. And it was like $15, and it was tails and pants.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, look at that. I'm gonna get that. I had no reason for it, but I just took it
Oh,
and
so
put it
you
in my
didn't
tickle
have
trunk.
the character yet.
No, I just put him in the tickle trunk and said I'm going to use it at some point. And sure enough, when the idea for Valley Ghost Walks came up, well, I have the costume, right? So I was prepared.
Go to the tickle trunk, and here we go.
That's right. Well, I grew up with Mr. Dress Up, right?
Well, yeah.
We all did.
We all did. That was the greatest Canadian thing ever.
Fantastic. I cried when we learned that he passed on.
Yeah.
There, right? So
Yeah.
I forget the name of the actor.
Mr. Dress Up.
Mr. Dress Up.
Mr.
That's
Dress Up.
what people know him as.
Yeah. So the way I got to know you was I went on the Ghost Walk tour probably 10 years ago.
Well, we've been doing them 17 years now, so
Wow.
it could very well
Might
have been 10
like
years
between
ago.
10 to 12 years ago.
Okay.
First caught a glimpse. You're sitting on that fence. If anyone goes in Wolfville, by the clock tower there's that stone fence by the graveyard. And
Yeah.
this guy's sitting on that stone fence with a old-fashioned, old-timey shovel.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, in the costume.
Once
yeah.
they fix up that wall, they asked me to not sit up on the wall again. So I haven't sat on the wall in many years. But that was a cool spot, though. 'Cause that's
was.
how Jerome's character would be introduced
Yeah.
in the Wolfville Ghost Walk.
Yeah. So do you have like stage experience, like as an actor?
No, I took drama in high school. Even grade 12, I took grade 12 of theater. So I was in one of the plays. But I had no aspirations at all to pursue that. When I was in Saskatchewan, though, I was being mentored in small business and entrepreneurship and managing a movie theater. So I was just like 19, 20, 21 years of age. And so the South African lady who was teaching me all this stuff, she taught a lot of other entrepreneurs in Moose Jaw and different places. And one of the businesses was a business called Parties Tailor Made. And she got a call from the woman who was running it, and she was in a bit of a panic because she said, I'm going to have to cancel one of my gigs this evening because my nerd called in sick.
My nerd.
Yeah, because she offered telegrams. That's one of the things this Party Tailor Made offered. And Monica said, no, you're not canceling. I know exactly
I'll loan you a nerd.
Yes. That's exactly what she said. And so she called me. I'm like, you want me to do what? Like dress up and embarrass myself? And she said, yeah, but you'll get paid for it.
Wow.
I'm like, well, okay.
Reconsider.
Let's figure this out. So Franklin the Nerd was my character. And I would embarrass people on their wedding or their birthday, most of the time for females.
Usually family does that for free.
Right? But it was always a family member who wanted to embarrass whoever it was.
They didn't want to actually embarrass themselves.
Exactly. So hire the nerd to go in. And so, you'd wear bottle cap glasses that you couldn't really see too well out of, which actually really helped.
Don't want to embarrass the wrong person.
You got to make sure you get the right mark. You're right. But the fact that I couldn't see so well actually did help because it reduced my embarrassment.
Yeah.
Right? But plaid pants, a fur coat, a wig, just looking ridiculous. And I'd bust into the room, and there'd be a backstory that the family member had given me all the dirt on this person. So I would take that dirt and I would create a poem. I would write some sort of poem. But before I got to the poem, I would try to get them to dance with me a little bit. The "What Is Love" song was all the rage back. People recognize what is love.
You must have been really broke.
Yeah, right? The things I'll do for $1. But I took that character around Saskatchewan. I spoke at high schools throughout the whole province, and part of the 1-hour entrepreneurial talk was showing the kids that entrepreneurship, it can be so many different things.
Yeah.
It can be part-time. It doesn't have to be a full-time thing, but it can also be creating a character. It can also be having fun and being creative.
Wow. So that's the birth of all this.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Franklin the Nerd, there's no way I would have thought about Jerome the Gravekeeper, knowing that there's a character that could do this. Because Jeremy, who am I to tell the Valley's history? I'm a CFA. I'm not from around here. But as a character, okay, let's see what we can do. My inspiration was at Ali Melanson, his Candlelight tour down in Annapolis Road. I'm sure you've done that. Like 30 plus years he's been doing it.
Yeah.
He just announced, I think he's going to be doing a few more now later on in the season here. So that's good.
But it's fun. It's definitely worth doing. It's more on the history side thing. It's not as
It's not as
he's
theatrical.
not in character. Yeah,
well, he does wear the garb, and he's got the accent. He's a 10th generation Melanson, so when he's talking about the National Historic Settlement across the river, like that's his family, which is so credible. He's so authentic.
It's cool.
And so at the end of the show, I picked his brain, asked so many questions, and like good hour. He was so forthcoming and so encouraging that the drive back to sweet guy.
Yeah.
I drove back to Wolfville kind of on fire, saying like, hey, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
But again, who am I? And so I'm not that strong as an actor, so I asked my friends if they wanted to get involved with it. And so we would bring to life historical people who either died tragically or they contributed to the Valley in some way. And so that's how we can get away with calling it a ghost walk, because technically it's a history walk,
right?
But ghosts are more sexy, more exciting, right?
It's entertainment, it's history. So you must have done a lot of research.
Yeah, so we try to strive for as much accuracy as possible, of course, with what we're talking about. No one's ever interrupted me halfway through a monologue saying, actually, that was 1847,
Fact checking is new.
Again,
usually people just went to be entertained.
And a lot of this stuff, you don't know. It was written down somewhere. And so was that accurate when it was written down?
Yeah.
Well,
that's the point of a ghost story.
Exactly.
I come from back the road, and the farmers back there say, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I play on the wine bus. I'm a guide on the wine bus. There's a Hutman Brothers song. I'm playing a lot more this season. There's no gas in the Gasparot. And we try to get the whole bus singing the chorus at least. And it can be ridiculous sometimes. Yeah. And then shortly after the song ends, as we're going close to downtown Gasparot, here comes the gas station. So never get a little detail like that in a way of a good song or a good story. Right. So exactly, I know what you're saying.
So 17 years now. That's good.
It's fun. And we had a show last night at the Grand Prix Winery.
So you don't just do the Wolfville.
We started with Wolfville.
Other locations.
Yeah.
Are there different stories?
Yes, same concept.
Same concept.
I'm Jerome the Gravekeeper. Yeah. I'm the overall story narrator, and I'll link you from tale to tale. I'm the one who's going to be with the group the entire time. But as we then turn the corner and all the world's a stage. So that park bench is now going to be where I step up, and that's going to be where a scene happens. And that's one of the more enjoyable aspects of creating these ghost walks is like the development stage of it. What stories are we going to share, but then where in the walk are we going to share those stories? Yeah. And it's outside theater, so you never know what you're going to get. Right. Sometimes you get yahoos coming by honking their horns, and you get all sorts. We've had over 400 shows in 17 years. Wow. So there's been
hundreds and hundreds of people.
Hundreds of people, and there's still a lot of people in Valley who haven't seen it. I like to hope now at least people know of it, whether they've come on it or not. That's fine.
Oh, I've been promoting it for years. I say you got to do it, because the Valley is a great spot year round, but the fall is amazing, especially that
stunning.
Kentville to Wolfville area, you get the leaves
The
changing, you
Gaspereau
got
Valley,
the
come
pumpkin
on.
people, you've got all the hiking trails, the football games,
Yeah.
it's great.
I'm wearing the Acadia plaid today
Yeah.
because the students just arrived back in town. There's always a noted energy change in the atmosphere.
Right. Yeah, the live music. There's so much going on in the fall.
Wolf Vegas, baby.
Apple picking, it's a happening spot.
It is.
And the graveyard tours.
Well, I mean, we just contribute. That's the thing. Like, I don't feel like what I do, it stands out in some way, but I feel like I fit in because there is a lot of creativity and things happening.
Yeah.
So, if it was a very dead place and that the only thing was a ghost walk, then but I don't
There's
want
so
that.
much to do.
I want to be part of a vibrancy and the fact that we're only an hour from the city, an hour from the airport, right? Like we're rural Canada, but you don't feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, right?
Right.
I mean, further down the valley where we are here, we're kind of in the middle of the valley. I mean, Middleton's a little further down. But this is an important community with the military base and whatnot.
Yeah.
But Wolfville is where I want to live, right?
Yeah, well, that's kind of the hub for all the, the social arts and all that. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
And for you to do the speakeasy or the comedy club and
need that.
the band stuff like that's so important for this neck of the woods.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for doing that because it doesn't have the same abundance of theaters and things happening as say Wolfville End. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but
No, I think you're right. It's kind of the epicenter, I think.
Yeah.
Wolfville is for
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah. So how many people how many actors are involved in like your Wolfville show? Because I've only seen the Wolfville show.
Sure.
I've done that I think 3 times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we also had Kentville. Kentville came on a few years later. It was Laura Churchill Duke, if you know Laura.
Oh yeah. Burger Wars.
Yeah, Burger Wars,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, you've been very active with Burger Wars.
Yeah,
too.
well,
We can
I
get into
interviewed you here, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
one time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you for being part of Burger Wars, because
awesome.
that's a really
we
cool
love
thing.
Burger Wars. Great
So
charity, great
delicious
people.
month, April.
Yeah.
Look forward to
It
it.
can be overwhelming, though. That's
Well,
all
you got to keep upping your game. I mean, what
know.
you did last year is good, but what about this
I
year?
know there's a lot of pressure. We work on it all year.
I would imagine.
Yeah. It's a great crew of people. It's a great charity.
And it raises money
We're really
for a
happy.
good cause. Yeah,
Yeah.
the campaign for
Yeah.
kids, right?
Yeah,
Kids in financial need.
Yeah.
So Laura was speaking to the Kentville people, and they said, well, what about that guy in Wolfville? He's doing these things. Would he ever do it here? So Laura asked if I would, and I said, sure. So she actually wrote the Kentville scripts. There was 2 Kentville shows, one at the Oak Grove Cemetery and one downtown. We don't do the Oak Grove anymore. Bit dark and dangerous in that cemetery, although the Oak Grove Cemetery is worth checking out.
Yeah.
As cemeteries go, that one's actually really stunning. I don't know how much time you spend in cemeteries, but
Not a lot.
right. You know what? You got a good, nice one right close here. The Tremont Cemetery, the old Tremont.
Okay.
We're going to be performing there again in August or October this year. I think we're just going to figure out
Greenwood?
the date exactly.
Really?
So that's going to be a 3rd time we've performed down there. Now it's not a specific Tremont Cemetery show, specifically just content from that cemetery. Although all these cemeteries could have their own specific shows.
But the research and time it would take.
Exactly.
Would be,
So what we do, we just sort of bring ghosts that we already have established, and we just insert them.
Cut and paste
there.
ghosts.
Exactly. Ghosts are portable. That's what's nice about it. I learned that
Don't
my
take
first
up any
season.
space.
They can be summoned, right?
Yeah.
I learned that my first year. We had our 5th ever show was in December, and it was so cold, and so we did half of the show outside, and then we came inside around a fireplace and hot chocolate. There's only 6 guests that night.
Wow.
And I learned though that it's storytelling. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
So we don't have to stick to the original planned route. Yeah. And now, you can hire us as a private show if you want to. And we've performed on buses. We've performed around campfires. We've performed on beaches, right? Like at home parties, right? Like you never know. So depending on which ghosts are available, and it's one of the harder things. It's like staffing a restaurant. It's one of the biggest challenges, probably, finding enough staff to open their doors. Yeah. It's, again, not quite to that same level with Ghost Walk, but ghosts call in sick last minute, right? They do. And so
Even
then
the ghosts get the sniffles.
they do. So you got to reconfigure, and you got to have backup ghosts as well. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to make the show still happen, especially when you have like 40 people coming, and now you're down some of your best ghosts, and you're like, oh, okay, well, the show must go on, and they don't know what they're missing,
right.
So you make the most of it. So, entrepreneur, you got to kind of adjust, switch feet a little bit sometimes. So the Wolfville show, on average, all the shows have about 6 ghosts, 5 to 6, 7 ghosts within the show, in addition to Jerome the Grave keeper. But over the years, the number I'm most proud of it, I tallied it up, I guess, last year, and the number would be higher now, but over the 17 years, over 145 people have been a ghost.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
That's pretty cool.
So when I go to a show in Wolfville, I'm always counting the ghosts in the audience and on stage, and there's always at least someone who's being part of the ghost walk now.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I like that.
And it's very well done. I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but it's fun. There's some, not jump scares, but there's some surprises and stuff.
There's got to be a little, like the back of the cemetery. There's got to be a little bit there, but no, we're not touching anybody.
No.
And after like 15, 20 minutes, I normally look at the crowd and I say, is this what you were expecting?
Yeah.
Because often it isn't, people think you're going to be super scared on this ghost walk or walk around with, gyrometers looking for the energy readings, right? Like if you came on the walk expecting those things, you came on the wrong one.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, it is a lot of fun. I mean, it's
family friendly,
it's long too,
historical
right? Like,
production, 2 hour shows.
2 hour show. Yeah.
Try to keep it under 2 hours because although last night we did push it over.
You definitely get your money's worth.
I think so.
Yeah. It's not, how much is it? Like,
well, we've upped the price over the years, of course. Now it's $25 for an adult or 20 for a student. 2-pack is $45 or a 6-pack's $120, right? So, the tickets are online on the Valley Ghost Walks, valleyghostwalks.com.
Definitely worth it. Go to like Patty's Pub or one of these places first, get a little half buzz and follow the ghosts around.
You know what? Well, you might have second thoughts on that, right?
Really?
So the first year, I tell this story now on some of the walks. I told it last night. My first year, I didn't know exactly the format that Valley Ghost Walks are going to be. Like, to what degree is it going to be supernatural? What degree is it going to be scary? Is it all family friendly? I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I heard that there was a psychic in Kentville. Her name's Edna. Have you heard of her?
No.
So I didn't know of her, but I just
It's a great name for a psychic,
Edna,
though.
that's right. She's actually quite famous. I didn't know this. So I just showed up out of the blue with a friend of mine. She didn't know I was coming.
You surprised the psychic?
Anyway, they said, do you have an
job.
appointment? And I'm like, do I need one? And they're like, yeah, Edna's
You
a
should've
big
knew
deal.
this.
Yeah. So they're gracious enough to, have me in the lobby, crystals and cacti everywhere. It's a really cool kind of, She finally comes out and she's exactly what you expect Edna the psychic to look like. And so I explained the concept, what we're going to try to start up, these ghost walks. And just wondering, Edna, would you come into the old burial grounds with me and kind of tell me where the hot spots are? Like, that's kind of how I phrased it. And she looked at me like, no, I'm not
Really?
going to do that.
Wow.
And you should know something. If you're going to be hanging out in cemeteries, you should never go into them after you've been drinking or getting high.
Really?
Because when you do that, you open your door up a little bit. And there's hitchhikers in cemeteries. And you don't want to take anyone home with you.
Damn it, Edna. Why didn't anyone tell me?
As soon as she said that, I knew family-friendly historical productions. I knew my angle, right? Like, I wasn't going to go down that road whatsoever. So we go in with respect, all right? And if you have respect going into a cemetery, if you're going to walk on the bodies, so long as you do so with respect, because you don't know where everyone's buried, right? Like, chances are you're walking over a few people. But that's what I try to instill, right? But also, I give a little fright, a little scare, second thoughts when, I tell this story right before we go into the old burial grounds now. So if you did go to the pub beforehand, you're going to have some second thoughts.
Yeah, scare you. I think there was a story, I won't give it away, but there was a story about the Patty's Pub, right? In
the library pub. The library pub. Yeah.
The phone ringing or something.
Exactly.
Like that, some
Drew got called in late at night, and there was a couple of 911 calls.
Yeah.
And so he met them at the side door, started walking upstairs. They're like, no, it's not from the office phone. It's from the downstairs pay phone. And he's like, that phone hasn't worked in 2 years, right? Yeah. So it works now. But as they're walking down the stairs, I guess the light bulb right above the phone burnt out as they're going down the stairs.
Shit.
Right? So yeah, some of the staff there who work there late at night and clean up, right? Like a few weird things, I guess, have happened, right? I totally personally believe that there are realms out there, good and bad, and most people shouldn't be dabbling. I don't want to. I've always had a prayer. I don't want to experience, see, smell, taste, sensationalize anything that I'm not ready for, right? So the few times in life when something weird has happened, it gives me an automatic comfort because I guess I'm ready for it, right? Like, it gives me peace. But I don't go out looking for this stuff. Yeah. Now, I have gone down rabbit holes on YouTube looking at ghost videos and stuff. There's no shortage of content out there. And so it is fascinating to me, but I don't want to go there, right? Yeah. There are ghost hunting shows.
So you're very much on like a entertainment only level.
Yeah. For the, like, there was a Maritime Haunting. I think that's the name. I should know their name. A really nice guy, Jeff Dell. He's part of it. So he's done a few recordings at the Randall House Museum in Wolfville, and that's known to have a little bit of action, you know. And so I helped them out one time, carrying the cameras and the audio equipment and stuff, where they're late at night ghost hunting stuff. Ooh. So that's the first time I ever actually dabbled with that and kind of saw it from that angle. Nothing weird happened that night. Something happened before I got there. They heard 3 knocks, and that's always a sure sign. But I missed out on all that. Maybe they didn't see or hear anything because I'm not open to it. Yeah. I think like if you're going to be hypnotized, like you got to be open to that in order to be hypnotized. Yeah. I'm not
humans
open to it.
All over the world forever have believed in a lot of supernatural kind of stuff, like stuff we can't explain.
Yes.
Like it's every culture. Is it just our imaginations? Is it because our brains are kind of wired to look for patterns or to make up things that we don't understand? Or is there actually things there? Because like we're discovering new things all the time. Like we didn't realize there was this whole world of like bacteria and stuff, right? Because we couldn't see it. But now we know it's there. I mean, we can't see it with our naked eyes, but our scientists know it's there. Like there's this, we're all bacteria, right? Was there like 50 bacteria cells for every one of our own DNA cells or something like that?
You probably learned this in beer making school.
50 to 1. Yeah, there's a lot of bacteria. So there's this whole ecosystem in us that we can't even see. So what else is going on that we haven't discovered yet, right?
Bigfoot. It exists. The problem is
it does. Right here.
He's blurry. That's the thing. He is blurry.
He's blurry. Yeah.
It is just a man in a suit.
It probably is.
No, but like, yeah. Do you believe in Bigfoot then?
I personally think he's out there. It sounds a little wacky, but there's enough footage out there that who knows? Even if like 1% of it's real, then
there's also enough like, unexplored places.
It seems ridiculous that it's something that big and no bodies ever, or have they been found? Like who knows? There's a lot of wackadoodles out there posting stuff, and so take it all with a grain of salt.
People have found like species of deer that they thought were extinct, right? So, you know, like
there's
stuff,
this guy,
you find stuff.
Forrest Gallant, I think that's his name. He's a good guy to follow on YouTube because he's all about extinct and endangered species and things. And
local?
No, he's I think New Zealand guy, but he's pretty big. He's been on Rogan and whatnot. So the Tasmanian, not the Tasmanian devil, but there's like a fox, a Tasmanian stuff.
The stripes.
With the stripes. And like he's really into that guy.
Yeah, they're trying to bring that back.
Exactly.
And the mastodons are trying to bring some of this shit back.
Well, I think with technology, that type of stuff is possible.
Yeah.
But, as for Bigfoot, who knows? But I'm fascinated by Bigfoot. I really am. Yeah.
Well, there is stories about it may have been something like that, like 30,000 years ago or something, like some kind of primate type thing they found fossils of. Like it may have existed at one point and just doesn't anymore, or maybe there's a few out there.
We've kind of almost caused the extinction of a lot of large mammals. So like it would stand to reason that's...
And we're still discovering new things too. They find shit in the ocean all the time that we didn't know was there.
You know what's crazy is that the blue whale, like on planet, it's the largest thing ever to existed on this planet, and it's alive right now during our time. And there was a blue whale. I was down in Digby Way in the Bay of Fundy, like whale watching. Wow. There was a blue. There hadn't been a sighting since like the 1980s in the Bay of Fundy. Wow. They were saying. I'm no whale expert, but that's so. I
ghost expert, not a whale expert.
But that's what brings.
Now, if that whale dies, now it's your turn.
I'd be really spouting off.
We need a whale ghost. Yeah,
a whale of a good story.
A whale of a good story.
I'm a sucker for a good pun, though. I really am.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Mike Butler. Do you know Mike? Vote for
so.
Mike. He's running again for municipal council there in Wolfville. But the character he brings to two to life, but the one in Kentville is Walter Darcy Ryan. And he was born in Kentville, then he moved to New York when he was like 19 or something. He never actually came back to Kentville, so all the cool stuff Walter did was there, but he's from Kentville, so he fits into Kentville. A lot of his family members are buried in Kentville at the St. Joseph's Church there. But the whole script is lighting and lighting puns. He worked for a little company back then in the early 1900s called General Electric, right? So he invented street lights, for example, and he illuminated Niagara Falls for the very first time. Wow. And in his obituary in the New York Times in 1934, 6, it said he turned his career, illumination, into both an art and a science. And so Mike, being a funny guy, he just ran with the script. And so there's lighting puns throughout the script completely.
Dad jokes. Yeah.
Dad jokes, exactly. But they're fun, right?
Oh, it is fun.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Oh, I could go on, but we've all had our filament. He likes that one the most.
I'm sure he does.
The Ghost Walks is, I think, a fun way that I can still be involved. But the thing is, there's room for more. I'd like to do more of the Ghost Walks. So this year we're going to be haunting, for the first time, the North Grand Pré Community Church, which is right on the way to Evangeline Beach. It only seats about 60 people, so we're hoping to get a sellout crowd there. And I'd love to have more Grand Prix specific type of content, but all the research and time is scripted. So this type of stuff can take years unless someone out there is willing to throw money at me to say, hey, you need to research and create something. And I'm open to that idea.
There's an episode that we've done, I forget what number it was, but Brenda Thompson, do you know her?
I should know that.
She wrote a couple books on poorhouses, history of Nova Scotia.
Okay.
And there is some really dark, scary, disturbing stuff.
Well, there was a Poor Man's Cemetery there in right off the rail trail in New Minas, and the house is being torn down there. But yeah, that was Sparta unmarked graves for people who didn't, like the poor man's house, right? Yeah. Exactly. Like, how does she describe them?
Did I say Deborah? It's Brenda.
Brenda?
Anyway,
no, I think you did say Brenda.
Brenda, yeah.
Yeah. She was on
yeah, she did an episode with us, about the poorhouses. Because do you remember down in, you probably weren't here then. In the early mid-90s, there was like this big poorhouse. It was like probably 3 stories high. It was this spooky looking thing.
And where was it? Further down?
Marshalltown near Digby.
Okay.
Yeah. I just remember going by, and my parents always say that was the poorhouse. When people couldn't afford to pay their bills or couldn't eat, they would move into there and farm on that. And that's all. This is before any of our social programs, right? Like EI and stuff like that. It burned down in the 90s, but it had been there for 100 years or something like that. But when you look into the history of it, it was dark. You didn't just come and go as you pleased. Okay. You were an inmate there. You were locked in. Okay. And you were forced to do labor. And before that, they were auctioning off people. Poor people were being auctioned off to the lowest bidder in the municipality.
Oh, that's not
good. And they
good.
would work them.
That's not good.
Some of them were murdered. And there was a lot of dark stuff. But she's done a lot of research. She's done a couple books on this topic. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of timely now because, we're dealing with hard economic time. All these things. They had some neighborhoods had different poorhouses for people with different backgrounds. And then we had all the people that came up during the American Revolution. Okay. A lot of the escaped slaves. And then there was a volcano. Was it 1815? There was a volcano that erupted, and it was it snowed here. Yeah, it snowed here in July that year. So it was a massive crop failure.
That was the summer without a summer. That was a year without a summer.
Right. Then the poorhouses were completely overwhelmed because all the crops failed, and they're even trying to ship some of the slaves back to slavery. Some of the people in charge here said, we know we promised to look after you, but it might be better if you go back to slavery. This is kind of some of the dark history that we've had here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad. Worth learning more about.
Yeah.
I'll have to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, and she has another book she recently put out called Nova Scotia Enslavers, I think, about slavery in Nova Scotia. I'm going to have her on again to talk about this.
Oh, it seems
if you could combine with some people that's already done some research, it might kind of fast track some of your stuff.
I've kind of thought that one of the ways we could grow Valley Ghost Walks is doing a ghost walk after dark, branding it that way and having a little bit more mature content, right? To maybe talk about some of these harder topics. Because you come on the ghost walk and we want to be entertained, but maybe we don't have to go too into the weeds too much. But there is that level of history too.
Right. And the things that we should be aware of and appreciate. People don't just take for granted now. If you lose your job, you get EI or old age pension, or single moms can have assistance to stay home and look after the kids. But back then they had to put them up for adoption. They were taken away from them and things like that, right? We have a lot to be grateful for. There's still a long ways to go dealing with poverty.
Well, look at homelessness, right? Now there aren't these poor homeless, which is probably for the best. But, you had a lot of people now that are on the streets.
These topics are all relevant again.
Yeah, so what's the best way to look after a society, and society is everybody, right?
Yeah.
So I like seeing the development of these little shelters. They're very slow in putting them out there, and a lot of NIMBYs, though, not here, not there, but somewhere, these little houses have to go. These communities people have to have the dignity of having a roof over the head, right? Like, give people a chance to get beyond that.
But we'll always be playing catch up unless we fix the root problem. And the root problem, I think, is an economy that's not working.
Yeah. Have you noticed life's expensive?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can just keep building homeless shelters until we're all living in the homeless shelters that we're building.
Right.
And we need that, but that's not going to fix the problem. It's like the health problem you don't fix by having more doctors. You fix the health problem by having healthier people, right? Like, you got to get ahead of some of these problems.
Well, I've heard of people, I don't want to contribute or donate to the food bank because that's just a Band-Aid solution.
I don't think...
And, that is the same thinking. And so, I mean, I get that because it's not dealing with the root. But the thing is, like...
No, we do need to help with the short term.
Yeah, the root is super important.
Yeah.
But that doesn't help today's hunger.
Right. You got to do both.
Right.
People need to eat today. But then we also need to work at a better system that will make it so people don't need food banks.
If we're working on both, then that's the ideal.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it would be great to have more doctors, but it would also be better to have fewer sick people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if this is true, but I think Nova Scotians were the most obese province.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I read that somewhere. We could be more active.
Yeah,
we certainly
that's
could be.
A little bit of a pet project we're working on now. We had Revival Seeds guy in last week.
Kenny Burke. Kenny, is that
Ken? Yeah,
Ken.
I can't pronounce his last name though.
Yeah, but his daughter, I think, is a musician as well.
Probably, he was a musician.
Exactly, he was in a couple bands
all over the world. Yeah.
But I didn't know he was into the seed thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of neat.
Super cool.
The things you learn on a podcast.
Yeah, well, there's so many interesting people around here doing interesting things.
Is that why you started this?
Yeah. Well, and like, I want to learn, right? Like, every conversation I have, I learn stuff. But I think it's so important one of the things is I love the entrepreneurial side of it, and a lot of our podcasts are about that. So, like, you had a dream and an opportunity, and you're making something. You're doing something. We've had, like, guys that were making mushroom farms, and there's dog trainers, and there's authors, and there's cooks, and there's all these people that take a little hobby and an interest, and now they've turned it into something, and that's cool. And I want to inspire other younger people to do that. Take a chance, take a risk, add to our local economy, add to our local culture, like, do cool shit.
That's one of the messages, the main messages that Jerome delivers. And I think the audience picks up on it, but like, there is room for more creativity. If you have an idea, time is short. You never know when your hour's up, right?
That's right.
So if you want to do something, execute it well, and people are going to come. I look at the successes of the dining on the ocean floor there at Burncoat Head. Right, a couple can go for the low cost now of $2,000.
Wow.
Right, but that was the Flying Apron restaurant, and maybe a couple of other people had that idea. Let's take advantage of the world's highest tide right here at Burncoat Head, and now look at it. It's a go-to tourism thing. David, who started the Magic Wine Bus 13 years ago, I've been a guide on it for 12 years. Like, people laughed at David the first year he proposed the idea. No one's going to ride a double-decker bus through to our wineries.
That's when you know you're onto something, though, is when people laugh.
Well, I'd argue that he was on the right path, because it's kind of the go-to thing.
I'll tell you this, when all your friends and family think it's a good idea, you're too late. You got to be a little bit on the cutting edge of things.
Yeah, you do got to take those risks for sure.
Yeah, like doing this podcast is something I wanted to do for about 4 years, and eventually we just got sick and tired of procrastinating. And so let's just do it. Maybe we're not quite ready. Maybe we won't have video right. Maybe we won't know what we're doing, but jump in.
Has anyone laughed at you yet? What a crazy idea, Les.
Yeah, but not for that reason.
Don't read the comments.
Yeah, right.
People have been very supportive, though.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
And like anything, it takes time and effort, right? Like,
it does.
You're not going to get 10,000 views on anything when you just get going. But you got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere, exactly.
Right?
And sometimes you got to do the thing you love for zero money, for zero recognition. You're not going to get that payoff financially, or you might not even be good at it for a while. You got to kind of suck at things for a little while at first.
That was one of the messages, the learnings that when I was mentored there in Saskatchewan. It's just like not how much money can you get out of the situation, but how little are you willing to do it for, especially when you're getting going, right? You got to build your name up a little bit. And then in time, I mean, the first year, I think the ticket prices were $10 for an adult and $5 for a student. Well, you know, you don't start, you know, where you are now, but you build up and you learn as you go. So yeah, I think entrepreneurship is great, and the fact that you do get to talk to so many fascinating people. That was one of the things that I really liked about the Grapevine, is that it really was a community-focused thing, and there was a time in this community that I knew everything that was happening, right? We were the go-to central location, and that was taught me that there's so much going on here.
And that was pre-social media time.
Well, no, social media was going on. I mean, this was kind of like 2009, I think, 2009 to about 2016, roughly. That was my involvement.
Okay.
And I always thought we could have done more
but
on social media.
Preceded that.
2003, yeah.
Right.
So
that was definitely
early
a time
days
with no social media.
When was Facebook? It was
I
wasn't
think
robust.
the whole thing started around then, didn't it?
Around
like
then.
2000s?
Yeah.
I mean, there was MySpace as well, was really the first one, I think, wasn't it?
But like there was no
2002.
Valley events. I don't know,
Right.
like if you ever have an event, hopefully you're putting on valleyevents.ca. It's a user-driven website. It's worth you putting your time to put it up there for free, because it powers actually a lot of other online calendars.
Okay.
So like this Valley has a lot happening. So I recommend that to anybody who's holding an event in the Valley. Put up for free on Valley Events, right? But yeah, back in 2003, there wasn't that sort of central location.
It was harder to find things to do when we were young, remember?
And now you're saying that although you have all this abundance of options, you know, it's harder to get people to come out to things. But I think as a restaurateur, you do have to keep making an effort. You can't just open your door and say, well, people need to come. I'm deserving of people to come just because I'm here. Well, what's your effort today? Like, I don't know. Putting on music and concerts and comedy nights, that's effort in my mind. So you can't do that every night, but I think that I've always thought that one thing I love to do at night in the evenings, I like to go on a bicycle ride, right? I love ripping around on the dikes on my bike, and I'll come right through Wolfville in the evening because I want to see the vibe. I want to feel like who's out and about. And there's always people mulling about. And there's a lot of patio decks in Wolfville, right? Yeah. And this summer, I feel has been really good. So there's people almost on every patio deck every night. And however, I do think that we're missing out on the opportunity to have more live music. Sometimes I go through and there's not one patio, not one restaurant with live music happening. Well, how can we make that more abundant? How can we take advantage of the talent that we have around and make Wolfville a music destination much more so than we already are? I don't know what the magic solution is for that, but ideas are churning. Like, how can we have maybe a musical fund, and the restaurants can pull from that,
right? Because
it
does come down to economics.
Exactly.
Musicians, they
need
can't
to get
do
paid
it for nothing.
No, you can't just throw $100 at a guy anymore.
No.
Like $100 is.
But if you have a
better
50
than not,
seat,
but
if you have a 50-seat place and you give them, a couple $100, $250, $300, you got to really move a lot of product just to cover that.
Right.
Because you can't just sell $300 worth of beer. I mean, because your beer and your labor and all your overhead's still there.
So would there be a better system where the restaurants can tap into a fund and pay for half the musician, for example?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that would be great, but who's going to
fund
that?
Well, there is a way to get that. I'm not the guy right now, not the time or the place, but as I bike through Wolfville, I think, like, how can this town become even more vibrant than it is now? Now, I'm not done with this place. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's good. These are all the questions I ask all the time. And I'm in this, in the middle of a project of making an event space here. And I want to do that. And I know I'm going to have to probably lose some money for a while to see that return on that.
Well, I mean, I guess I have never been an entrepreneur to this degree of the risk you have with this huge building and whatnot. But
they can only take it once.
They haven't taken it yet.
They haven't taken it yet.
Right.
I had no experience. 8 years, half of that pandemic, still here. Can't be
go.
completely an idiot. But
I like your little patio you have outside. I walk by. You have people in every single stall there. It's a nice day. This
good time of year.
Yeah, it's stunning weather right now. Yeah. September is the best time to be in the valley.
It is. September, October, pretty amazing.
Yeah, the tourism season is still in full swing. I'm having my best year with Where It's At tours. So private custom tours. I have now 2 minivans. I started with one, and in the off season, I invested into a new Honda Odyssey. So between the 2 vans, I can fit 13 guests, and businesses, it's coming. It's nice. I mean, I'm not busy every day. I was able to come here today on a Friday, but tomorrow I got 2 gigs on the go. And I partnered up recently, though, with skipper Mike Huntley. I don't know if you know Mike. His wife Liz and him, they did the Swimmer Hut and Live House of Fashion in Kentville. Okay. Swimmer Hut is now in retirement sale, so they're stepping away from that business. But he collects boats. He's got a lot of boats. It's
boat collecting.
Yes, so that's his habit. But his latest boat that he got is a twin motor Zodiac. And so we've been dabbling with boat tours over the last few years. Can we take people from Wolfville to Parsboro across the Minas Basin? And it's still there. That concept is still possible.
If it goes poorly, at least you have more ghosts to talk about.
I always look for content. So the new idea is called Split Rips. So there's a little wharf, Scotts Bay, on the way to the Cape Split Trail. Just before the parking lot, there's a wharf. And so in the Zodiac, we can go from there to Cape Split. And if the conditions are right, actually through the split. Wow. And I did that with him. To see the rocks from that level.
Awesome.
So cool. Yeah. So cool. So we just sort of did it this year. We've only sold a handful of departures thus far, but you got to start somewhere, right? And so we're proving that the concept works, and we'll hit the ground running much more so for next year. But it's Saturdays and Sundays up until the weather prevents us. So we'll go into October with it for sure.
Cool. I want to do that.
Yeah, it's all the details are there, but it's like $145 plus tax. You got to have at least 4 people to make the boat possible. But I think people are going to be interested in that because, anyway, there's a new spa as well out that way as well. I don't know if you've been to the Salt Air Spa
I've heard of
Baxter's Harbor.
Good things, yeah.
So the more activity going on there, like Split Rips and the spa, and Halls Harbor has got a lot more attention because of the road washout that happened in July. A lot of rain. I don't know if you noticed the main road from one side of the harbor to the other side of the harbor, that's gone now.
Wow, it's the rain,
the road,
and the floods.
The flood
have been unreal.
Well, yeah. Last year in Hants County and this year in Kings County.
A few losses of life in the
it's
area.
pretty tragic. It really
Very
is.
sad.
We never talk about recent things in the Ghost Walk because we talk about historical type of stuff. Yeah. But anyway, Halls Harbor is getting a lot more attention. So Tourism Nova Scotia is making more of an effort to kind of highlight what's going on there, because I know overall the numbers at the Lobster Pound and Parker's General Store they're a little lower than what previous years was, because people think, Halls Harbor is closed now because of the washout. Well, no, it's still open, but you just have to drive around from one side to the other. Yeah. But what a cute little village that is, a little fishing village. Anyway, I could ramble on about all the amazing things happening. That spa is good, though. That spa is worth going to.
No, the spas, I've heard there's a bunch of them popping up, right?
There's one in Chester. That's what's the name of that one? Sensi. Yeah, it's a Nordic spa there.
I don't know if you hot and cold therapy stuff.
That's what this one is too in Baxter's Harbor. The whole hot and cold contrast bathing.
I love that stuff. I do that at home. I have a wood-fired hot tub.
And you're into the cold plunge.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff.
Now, are you doing the cold plunge daily?
Well, I did when it's cold. Now I still do cold therapy, but it's not ice. I have an outdoor cold shower that I use now. Like when my ice, I had a big ice tote, and from October until the ice melted, I did that, and then I built an outdoor shower, and I start every day with a cold shower outside in the sunshine.
Okay.
Or when my ice is back, I'll be back in the cold plunge.
Your neighbors can't wait for the ice to come back.
Well, I have swimming trunks on.
Okay, all right.
And my neighbors are my parents, so they changed my diapers. They can handle it.
How are your parents, man? You
Great.
Still, yeah?
Oh, yeah. They work.
They're in their 80s or 70s? Or
Dad turns 70 the end of the month.
Oh, well, there we go.
They're young. Yeah, Mom's like 67 or something like that. Yeah, they help in the brewery and everything. 3 generations in the company now. They help bottle beer, and I brew and run the restaurant. And my son's serving. So it keeps us busy. Yeah,
the family-run business.
Yep. Have you done the cold stuff, the cold therapy stuff?
Well, only at that spa, really. Yeah. I don't subscribe. Well, I think it's a good idea.
Oh, it's great for inflammation.
Exactly. Hot and cold, it creates blood flow, and blood flow is the only thing that really is going to heal us on the inside.
Yeah.
But no, I don't want to get cold if I don't have to.
I have
does
a
sound awful.
wood fired hot tub, and I'll get it as hot as I can.
Oh, sure.
And then I'll jump out and get in the cold shower, and then back in the hot, and then in the cold shower, and then you go to bed, and you just like sometimes I'm so relaxed, I'm not sure I can get my leg up to get out of the thing.
Yeah.
And
and
just
probably
something with that hot
physically,
and cold, hot, cold, hot, cold just chills you right out.
and because you have the good habits and you're doing this, you feel physically like in good shape still in your mid 40s.
Yeah, I feel like since I started eating better and working out in the cold therapy and stuff, I feel probably 15 years younger. Like I'm stronger and healthier now than I was in my 30s.
One of the things Bear, can I call him Bear? No,
Sure.
Chef Bear mentioned, and I don't think I could do this. He says he doesn't eat after 8 o'clock or before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So he eats in the middle of the day, but after 10 o'clock,
Intermittent fasting,
and then on Mondays he doesn't eat at all. And he was saying that he actually, it works for him now that he's used to that routine.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could
Well, your
do
body
that.
can get used to amazing things. It's
You
like
could,
the ice thing. Like first time I did not want to do that, but now I can do it no problem. Like I jump in I was in the Pacific Ocean in January at minus 14 outside.
Okay, the polar bears.
Yeah, you just your body adapts. And the same with the eating thing. Like humans didn't have 3 meals a day all through human history.
There's a lot of psychology involved with all that as well, though, right? Like like what you're expecting to happen. You're expecting something good to come out of it. You'll be more accepting of it, right? So if you know that the outcome of getting in the cold plunge is good, you're much more likely to do it. If you think that the outcome is just going to be I'm going to freeze and I'm going to get hypothermia and die, you're not going to want to do it.
And it's the same with missing a meal. Like if you're not going to die by missing a meal, a little bit of like some people say we're being killed by our comfort.
Okay, no, I see that. Well, we're also not moving enough.
Yeah, we don't. Everything is always warm and cozy, and we're always eating perfectly. Everything, all you know what I mean. Like sometimes a little bit of struggle is good for you, physically, but also your mental capacity, just like your mental strength.
What's your philosophy in your restaurant when it comes to food? Like where it's coming from, the quality, the nutrition, like where are you at? Because you can go real one extreme, and then it could cost you a lot of money to source all that stuff.
Well, I have my convictions, but there's also what your audience wants, right?
Okay, right.
So we go as much local as possible. Like all of our meat comes from Bridgetown, D'Aubign's. The fish comes from Digby, Birch Street. Like as much, and when all the vegetables and stuff are in season, everything like that comes from the valley when possible. Like I make all the beer. We know the people that make the wines, Grand Prix, and like even the kombucha, the ciders. Like we know most of the people who make the products. Like I know them personally.
That's kind of cool.
From the wine, the kombucha, the beer, the potatoes.
You can
the
do that
meat.
in the valley, that 100-mile diet sort of thing. Like, we got that.
There's actually not a lot of places in the world you can do that.
This is phenomenal in that sense.
But still, our menu starts at like $6. You can get a fish taco for $6.
Are you making any money? Are you making any money on that $6 taco?
Not enough, maybe,
Probably
but
not.
I want things to stay as affordable as possible too.
Yeah.
Right. And we have some things that are quite healthy. And then we have some things that are completely not healthy, but that's what your audience wants. So always kind of playing with that.
I mean, I don't go to a restaurant to eat healthy personally. I just don't. I mean, if I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to do that at home.
Yeah.
Right, realistically.
But also, like I've seen, like, it's some pub food, like nice burgers, but that's like grass-fed, local-grown beef, and local-grown potatoes for your fries and stuff like that. We hand-cut them. And we think that people want some pub food, but also, like a lot of our Air Force people, they work heavy work, they're working all the time and they don't really have time to cook. So a lot of them, we see the same people like 3 or 4 times a week. So they can't eat burgers and fries all the time like that. So you got to have some healthier stuff. It's amazing. You see great big jacked up gym bros coming in and getting a Buddha bowl. It's like, didn't expect that. I expected this great big muscle bound guy to be having burgers and fries. But you got to have that variety of stuff.
You can't,
right?
especially when you're at our age, you can't keep doing that every day.
No, you can't.
Okay, so then on that topic of being healthier and whatever, is this a non-alcoholic, this one here?
Yeah.
A blonde. I haven't seen this. Partake Brewing. Where's this from?
It's not local. It's Canadian.
It's Canadian.
This comes from Superstore.
From Toronto, it says.
Yeah.
So I'm going to crack that.
And this is something that we've had on hand. And I find myself drinking these more often than ever.
Me
like
too.
I'll have.
I'm going for the non-alcoholic way more often. Than
like
ever before.
Ben's in Annapolis Royal.
Okay.
So we'll go to ABC and we'll have like maybe 1 or 2 beer, and then I'll switch to these because I want to hang out. But I don't want to get drunk. I have to drive. I have to get up tomorrow, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and even if you can't party every night, I mean,
You can't, but you want to be social. You know, you want to be social and
So I do think that there is such a
partake,
push.
I guess.
Partake in the good times. That's exactly where the name's. You still want to partake.
Yeah.
There's 11 wineries surrounding Wolfville within a 20-minute drive. There's 6 breweries. There's a distillery, 2 cideries, and some of them, a small amount, are doing non-alcoholic options.
Yeah.
Benjamin Bridge is leading the charge. They have 4
stuff in the grocery stores
non-alcoholic with their Piquette Zeros, and now the Nova Zero, because that Nova 7 is the #1 selling wine in the province. Did you know that 40% of every Canadian bottle of wine, according to the NSLC, sold in the province is a Nova 7?
Really?
Yeah, people like it a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very popular. The first year they released
And
it.
even that's a better choice than some because it's only 7%.
Exactly. It is a low percentage.
Yeah.
It is.
Which
It's
is
on
great.
the
It's
sweeter
refreshing.
end for sure. It was 2007 when they first released it, hence the 7. And so the thought process was next year Nova 8, Nova 9, but it just sold so well.
Yeah, keep it
The
that,
marketing team said, no way are we changing that.
Yeah.
So now they have 4 non-alcoholic products. Lightfoot and Wolfville can do a non-alcoholic flight. They get some of the products from the Tango Garden, and then they kind of mix their own drinks. And the Tango Garden, I don't know if you've been there, right off exit 10 off the highway.
Yeah.
What a hidden gem that is.
Oh, yeah.
Beverly's been running it for like 36 years or whatever. She started like 5 acres, had 4 trees, and now it's a Tangled Gardens. And so all the jams and jellies and ice cream they make from the ingredients from the garden. And I love taking people there because, especially the locals. Oh yeah, I drive by it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, stop in once. You know, like explore your backyard. There's a lot going on. Anyway, I would like to see more local producers making non-alcoholic options, but I also understand it's a lot of money to like change your system.
Yeah.
Because non-alcoholic beer, I guess the risk of something going bad, I guess, is much higher because alcohol kills the
Alcohol is a bit of a preservative, natural preservative.
Is that one of the reasons why because I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Roofhound does not currently brew a non-alcoholic?
No, not right now, but a while ago I made a 1% IPA and I loved it. It was called Gimme a Hint. So it was, it's not no alcohol, but it's a little bit, it's low enough.
I like that a lot. Because you always have because this is probably a 0.5 most likely.
Yeah.
0.5.
Yeah.
But what about a 1 point? Yeah,
And
1%.
it was fantastic because if I'm working in my yard or whatever, I can drink that all day and be fine, right? Or there was always some guy, the military guys, they got to go back to work or whatever, so they can be social and have a 1% beer
They can have 2,
or 2,
or 3.
Yeah, it was great. And I need to do it again because it is a popular thing because I don't drink beer to get drunk.
I love the taste of beer.
It's the social thing
Yep.
and the taste of it. And like everything in Nova Scotia, so much happens around drinking.
Oh, it sure does.
It's such a part of our culture.
Have you noticed that? Yeah.
But if you're trying to be healthier and you want to be responsible, it's a great option.
Yeah. So it's a growing segment. I know in the States there's a lot more happening there. They just are always a little bit, they got more people. But I think you're going to see more and more of that as time goes on, the non-alcoholic options. Just as we're talking about just locations that are awesome, have you been to Beausoleil Farmstead?
No.
Have you heard of that one?
No.
So it's on Church Street. There's the highest concentration of Church Street, just north of Port Williams. Technically, it's in Port Williams.
Okay.
So it's the highest concentration of wineries in the province because there's 3 of them back to back to back. Yeah. But the newest one is Beausoleil Farmstead. I think they've been there for about 4 years. And Mel and Jake run it. They're just the sweetest couple. And she was the head cider maker at the Annapolis Cider Company as it was still like in the conception phase. Right. But then after 4 years, she broke away to do her own thing. So they make a very interesting product there called Vinous cider. So it's not just cider, not just wine, but a blending of the two.
Oh, okay.
They have standalone cider, they have standalone wine, but their product they're getting attention for is their Vinous cider. And it's really an amazing spot. They're the smallest winery in the province. They'll make about 1,000 cases of wine a year. So you times that by 12 to get the bottle count. In comparison, Yost, 120,000 cases of wine, right? So that's the largest, and then Beausoleil would be the smallest. But if you get a chance, check them out. They're on Church Street. They're only open to the public on Saturdays from like 1 to 4. So very limited hours. But she always says, how small or how big how big do you not want to be? However she phrases it, but like she doesn't want to be much bigger than what they are, right?
And that's kind of where I'm at. Like the bigger your whole system is, the more complicated, more stressful it is. And
you want this to be bigger. You want the building and all the vibrancy to be with the Airbnbs, and you want
like
more
a whole
in this
experience.
But you're talking about
I don't want to run a big commercial brewery and have trucks on the road.
You don't want an HR department.
20 staff just making beer and then trying to sell the beer, and that's a headache. I kind of wanted that in the early days, but it didn't take me very long to realize that that's not what I want.
Okay.
Because when you're so big, it's all about scale, and you're only making pennies per. But you got to get bigger and bigger and bigger,
and you got to you got to have sustained growth, and then you got to have, and you end up with like other people who will want a piece of the pie and everything.
And then the bigger you are, the harder it is to keep it efficient. When if it's just me brewing beer, I can manage myself.
And there's quality control because what's going on.
But then the more people you involve in things, it just gets terribly inefficient and stressful. And a couple of years in, I realized that it's just not the direction I want to go.
It's fine for something like Heineken or something. They're doing it. They've got all their procedures
massive.
and stuff.
You got to be really good at logistics.
And it stops being like about like the actual like brewing and about the creativity of it. And it starts being like, oh, well, that beer last year made this profit. That means we need to do this one on week 3 of 2025 and not week 6. And then
cheapening things for just to make a penny more here and there. Yeah. I like what I have because it's small. I can handle it. But instead of having truckloads of stuff going, I'm selling most of the beer myself out of my own tap room by the pint at a higher margin. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Instead of you're selling directly to the customer, people that I have relationships with. If they have a concern or a praise or whatever, you get direct feedback. You know what I mean? They liked it. They didn't like it. You can put that back.
Try and do whatever you want, like the weird batches of something funky you want to try. It's
fun,
not,
fun stuff. Yeah, I can just experiment. I can just go in the brewery and say, what do I want to do today?
What's the most enjoyable aspect of doing what you do?
Well, there's one thing is when you have a beer that you've been making for years and you've got to make it the same every time. That's one level
to be able to
replicate
keep
that,
doing
keep that quality and so people say, oh yeah, this is a big stink, right? Okay. And then the other thing is to just take a stab at something brand new. So you got in your mind what you want it to taste like, and then you've never done it before, and you're going to make 1,000 liters of it, and you're going to release it, and to make that actually work.
So beer making in general is what
but
you
there's the
like
creative
to
side.
do the
This
most.
like you're rolling the dice, making something brand new, and you hope it tastes the way it does in your mind. And then the other side of it is to make this the exact same every time, month after month after month.
But for you to be able to brew beer, to grow a business, to get to the point where you need to brew the beer, you have to do all these other things.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
that aren't as fun.
Not as fun.
Sitting in front of the computer and crunching and all that.
Ordering and getting supplies.
So much. So it's like the challenge is how to take the business to a level where you don't have to do a lot of those other things and you can focus on what you like the most.
Well, that's something.
Is that kind of the ideal?
As the whole little thing grows, right? Like there's the restaurant, there's the brewery, there's the accommodations, there's other businesses renting property and stuff like this. The great thing is as it grows, it's more responsibility, but the fun thing I find for me, because I'm a bit of a weirdo, ADHD maybe, I don't know what I've learned in my 40, yes.
You could get a diagnosis.
In my 47 years, I've learned that I tick different.
Okay.
And instead of beating up on myself for that, I'm just going to craft my own job description in a way that I get to do the things that I love to do. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't seem like effort for me, like the creative things and the social things, stuff like that. And then as the empire kind of grows, I can hire people to do the shit I can't do, right? The thing like the administrative stuff or to sit at a computer all day. I hate that. It drives me crazy. Like adding up receipts and stuff. No, thank you.
But you still do, don't you?
I do.
Or you have someone
you
there.
have to at first.
Yeah.
But then as things kind of grow, I have the opportunity to do things like this, or to just the creative side of the brewing, or to go out on the floor and meet people on the Friday night and the social part of it. Like,
because you're the face and you got to be the face.
Yeah. So, and then as everything grows, I can afford to hire people to do the stuff that I don't do well or don't want to do.
I think that's
the fun.
That's the joy and the challenge of growing a small business, right? To be able to grow to the point where you can just really focus on the things that are most enjoyable.
Yeah. And it's
that's
such a
the
pleasure
dream,
to bring
but
in
it's
someone
not easy.
who is great at something.
Oh,
way
yeah.
better. Like Ben is great for technical stuff.
Yeah, you're
When it
not
comes
going to be doing this side,
No.
you know.
And he loves it.
Okay.
He would rather be there than here, and I would rather be here than there.
We all have our skill sets.
We all have our skill sets, and there's guys in the kitchen that just love just that assembly line kind of thing. They don't want to do the creative part. Well, that's great. We
Some people
complement
just love
each
all the
other.
efficiency of that
Yeah.
and all that. I can understand that. I
Yeah,
get
there's
that.
and it's to find those folks that complement me
Yeah.
and support me, and I support them, and we can. It's a beautiful thing. Like these three foreign workers have their families here now.
Yeah.
We had a big party at my house a couple weeks ago. That welcomed 2 new families into Nova Scotia, and it just barbecued together, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I love that. Like they're helping me, I'm helping them. It's mutually beneficial. It's great for our province. It's just great for Canada.
Well,
It's
small
awesome.
business is going to give more opportunities than anything else,
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah.
So I think there has to be more and more support given towards the efforts that small businesses are doing, right? Because there's a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
One of the message you and again, I was probably listening more of your podcast than I should have been working because I was working, but you were talking about like the red tape and just how there are a lot of barriers in Kings County. I think you mentioned not their name, but some sort of inspector who takes pride in being the dream killer.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's up with that? Like,
What is up with that?
That's just horrendous, right?
Yeah.
Pete Luckett, right?
Yeah.
We kind of like his entrepreneurship in this valley. I think can all agree he's added a lot to this valley.
He was so cool when I was a kid.
Right?
Pete Luckett, he would be on the CTV News. He's a tootly-doo. He's
That's
introducing
right.
this fruit and vegetable you never heard of before. When I was a kid, he was a celebrity. And
Oh,
I remember
absolutely.
going to the Bedford Mall one time.
Sure.
I was like 11 or 12 years old, and I helped Pete Luckett put away carts, and I thought I was so cool, like a celebrity sighting.
People go to his winery looking for Pete, and they're disappointed when he's not there.
Entrepreneurial
Yeah.
spirit is
Exactly.
amazing. What a guy.
So
What
how about
a
this, right?
Great attitude.
He buys that little church in Walbrook Mountain in the base of his hill there, and he wants to do entrepreneurial things, a wine bar, whatever ideas he had. Every one of them got poo-pooed by the county.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do that. You can't do this. Can't do that. So he said, forget this noise, and he put it back on the market, and now it's renovated. It's like a private residence. They're doing a great job. It looks great. But wouldn't you want Pete to be more entrepreneurial in this
Pete be
valley?
Pete.
Let Pete be Pete.
Get out of Pete's way.
Get out of his way, but they didn't. And so like that's the type of stupid thinking that doesn't help.
Nope.
There's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit.
And someone
let's
like
not
Pete,
crush it.
Someone like Pete knows people. He's got resources. If he can't pull it off, how does a beginning entrepreneur pull
Right.
it off? Right? Like, he's a resourceful man.
I know there's some argument to say, well, like, we can't grow too fast, slow and steady. We can't. You gotta be cautious. Like there is that thinking. I get it.
But those aren't entrepreneurs saying that. Those are government workers that will get their paycheck whether something happens or not.
And that actually benefits all the big corporations, really, because
It
they're
does.
the ones who have the sustainable growth, right?
They're the ones that can afford the lawyers and the engineers and all that stuff to come in and just rubber stamp this big multi-million-dollar project. And then the smaller companies, like the Pete Luckett's, he's probably doing, I've seen him at this winery. He's doing a million things.
Oh, yeah.
And he's trying to grow a company, and he's got family and grandkids, all these things like,
Well, instead, he started a new thing in the Azores, the Azores island chain off of Portugal.
Yeah.
Because, of course, he did. He's Pete. He can do anything he wants, right? So there's an accommodation and restaurant there.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty impressive place he's
I'm
got
sure it
going
is,
on there. But, yeah, we could have had a little piece of that,
yeah.
but we don't now. Anyway, there's pros and cons to all things, and our attitudes are utmost important. So to focus on negative and the people who are dream crushers, you got to deal with all those people. But hopefully that's not going to get the best of you. Like I just got my insurance bill for this next year. I've heard of tour operators shutting down because insurance is too high. Well, for the first time in my life, I'm like, I feel that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop because I'm committed to taking people around to the wineries and whatever. But it's a lot of freaking money for the insurance.
Everything.
So I'm going to have to raise my prices,
Yeah.
but then you can't go too high because then you price yourself. But everyone's got to understand that, like, things are more expensive now.
Yeah.
But it's my attitude, though. I have to can't focus on the cost and, oh, that hurts. How can I deal with that? Okay, how can I generate more money then to pay for these added expenses? There's so much more I could do to generate more to help pay for that insurance, right? So that's the entrepreneurial mindset.
But that's where you're at as an entrepreneur. You got a business and it's struggling, so you almost open another business to help subsidize that one, and then it's like a farmer. You're raising more things just to subsidize your initial thing, and you're
until
working
you
yourself
find
to death.
that sweet thing that is the thing you can rely on, the thing that is going to be giving you that core business that pays the bills.
You know what I think?
Figure out that core.
The no people, like so the politicians and the inspectors and all the community planners, all that. How about we make it so their income floats with the local economy? Okay. How about that?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Maybe they don't just get paid regardless.
Yeah.
Because I don't get paid regardless.
No.
I get paid by my performance. You get paid on your performance, right?
Yeah.
If people don't show up, if we can't attract the business, if we can't generate the cash, we don't get the cash. But these folks say no, 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 and still get their six figures.
Mm-hmm. What is the deal though with government officials having this? They get like paid what they're almost not. They're not. It's not even really possible to fire these people, is it? They have very.
No.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Because there is this idea that a government job is just safe somehow. I don't understand why that's the case though.
I don't know.
I don't know. I do think you have to have control, and there is something to be
standards and all that kind of stuff. But maybe if we have people hired by the government for that, maybe we should also have more people to help support the dreams and help you with the red tape.
And they should have an incentive, like you said, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense.
It should be some sort of incentive.
Yeah.
Well, some people are good employees, and as you mentioned on a previous podcast, you're not a good employee.
No, I'm terrible.
Yeah, just a different mindset.
Yeah, I'd be worst. I have to manage me, and I am a handful.
We were talking about how busy the restaurants and the kitchen can be.
Yeah.
When Church Brewing first opened up in Wolfville, what a
You
great
worked there a little
addition.
bit, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I was part of the original work crew.
Yeah, you served us one.
I had never worked in a restaurant before, but I figured I have a lot of transferable skills. I like people and I like food. And after about 3 months, they asked me if I was having fun. I said no. Because it was too stressful, right?
There's no ghosts here? Like, what's up with this?
I would be in the kitchen waiting for the order to come, and my back would be against the wall, just like, this is mad chaos. This is so busy.
It takes a special kind
don't
of person to
like
do that.
this at all. So, way more respect for, not that I ever was disrespectful, but way more respect for kitchen, servers, type of stuff they got to deal with, right? For the most part, I think people are friendly, but then
there's always somebody.
Then you got to deal, right?
Yeah.
The straw that broke the camel's back was as a restaurant, never buy tall tumblers that have no stability on a tray. Don't do that. No. So I spilled 2 ginger ales. Thank gosh, not on someone, because that would have compounded the issue. But it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had to clean that up, and it was just flustered. So
My
it turns
big
out
stink
I'm not.
glasses are very tall and thin, and I usually put them on the side of the tray and have.
So you have a technique now, because you
gotta
have
have a
spilt it.
That's the experience as well. Right?
Have you ever
seen
had
it
a absolute horror story where you actually spilled something on someone? Have you ever done that?
I haven't.
Oh, good for you.
No,
All right.
But I've watched it done. I'm trying to train our servers. Just set the tray down. Just set it down first.
Okay.
Like to have a tray and then to take a glass off and then the whole thing goes this way. Like I saw it just the other night and I said, maybe we should have a policy where we set the tray down first. And they're like, but I can do it. I said, clearly you can't. Because there's Coca-Cola dripping off this table here now. Let's have a policy of setting the tray down first. So that's our new policy. Let's set the tray down first. Because you're setting off the whole balance of things.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
you got to have technique.
You got to have technique.
Can't be unbalanced. In life in general, too.
Yeah. And it's so overwhelming. When you're a server, you're looking at so many things, right? You're on the floor serving drinks, but you're thinking about if that order's up yet. You got to get back to the phone. There's so many things.
You got to be 2 steps ahead at all
You know
times.
what stresses me out as a customer is when the server comes and takes everyone's order and doesn't write it down, because they're actually that good and they can do that. They can do that, and it's amazing, but it stresses me out. It's just like,
especially if you're ordering something with no mushrooms or something, because you feel like they're going to forget.
Take the pressure off yourself and just help yourself out a little bit. Like, it's impressive to do it without writing it down.
I mean, there are I forget the name of it now, but there was a restaurant in France that I went to that they're kind of known for that. So you're supposed to be able to like get a party of like 15 people in. One server comes up, everyone orders everything, and he's just like, yep.
They would all be wrong if that was
And
my
then
table.
And that's
They're
part
all
of
wrong. And so they get the wrong orders, and that's part of the shtick of the restaurant. Is that part of
No,
the shtick?
it is just the
They
thing
get it
that they
right.
do, like they get it right. But I mean, that would be
when they get
impressive.
it right.
But that is a thing, like people train to do that.
I heard of a restaurant that insults people. Like that's their angle.
Oh,
like-
there's a restaurant based on that English show, Fawlty Towers.
okay, sure,
Yeah.
yeah, with John Cleese.
I've been compared to him, the
Okay.
character from that once or twice when I was but yeah.
Yeah, you're a beautiful man.
No, I mean like because I was rude to customers.
Oh, okay. all right.
But like, I'll go to a table of 2 without my iPad to get drink orders. Because usually it's like 2 people, you get 2 drinks, but they want a flight. I'm like, no, whoa. I'll be back. I got to go get the iPad.
You know yourself.
2 drinks, you'll get the right drinks, but any more than that, no, I'm going to need support.
Did you do
here.
the Twinkie hamburger
Yeah,
one time?
The double tap for the Burger Wars.
Yeah,
it
what
was
was it
like
called,
a
a double tap?
It was like a
Zombie.
Zombieland inspired burger. So it had 2 patties.
Okay.
It had spinach dip in it, leaking out, kind of.
That was
represented
the
like
green, the zombie brain,
yeah.
yeah.
And then it had onion rings stacked higher, and then a Twinkie on top because in the Zombieland movie they're looking for Twinkies.
Okay.
It's an apocalypse, so what lasts? What kind of food lasts? Twinkies, they never go bad. And then there was a steak knife down through that. So that was a big year. That was a fun one.
Would that
the
have been
zombie burger?
your best-selling year for Burger
I
Wars?
think so. We were doing like 50 a day.
So you've been doing it now for many. Burger Wars been going on for
Yeah, we've
close
been
to
here-
10 years or however long now. So you
Right.
participated probably.
Yeah, even before we were here in Kingston, we were the first ones down in Digby County to participate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you accredit more sales for Burger Month?
Oh, yeah.
The more creative the burger is, there actually is
Yes.
more results
Even
from
just
that.
that whole month itself is always one of the biggest months of the year. Like April was this past April was our biggest month ever, I think. Yeah.
I'll cheers to that.
And you need it.
Well
you
done.
really need it.
Well, yeah,
come
because you're
April.
coming off winter,
You're coming
right?
off winter, and you got snowstorms, and you got all heating costs and all these things, and you're going into summer, so you're going to need to hire new people, train new people, get supplies. That's very, very important for the charity side, but it's very, very important for our local businesses because people really come out.
There's, a lot
huge.
of restaurants I participate now, but it surprises me that not every restaurant is participating.
Oh, they're missing out. We look forward to it, and it's a huge boost. It's like a sigh of relief when April 1st comes because I know, okay, we made it through the winter. You start seeing the numbers jump up. People are getting out, doing things. It's a huge relief. Yeah.
You're a grandpa.
I am.
That's crazy.
Yeah, little Henry.
Little Henry? How
He's
old's
5
Henry?
months.
5
and he's
months.
going to Disney here in a few days.
Okay, well-
he's already been to Paris. He's 5 months old.
Oh, that's
and he's
fancy.
been to Disney. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's such a happy baby.
All right.
Love him.
I don't have any kids myself,
No.
but I would imagine they're...
It's not too late.
No, it's not too late. It's not too late.
They're great. I mean,
They're a lot of work.
yeah, grandkids aren't that bad because you don't have to keep them.
No, but like yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who's had myself kids
Yeah,
a bit later in life.
you're almost my age. You have a 3-year-old.
Yeah, which is going to be 4 soon now. But yeah,
Yeah.
Just life-changing thing.
it's but in the best possible way. I mean, it's great. It's a lot of fun. You get to live this other life almost through them a little bit and rediscover things. I'm glad I did it a little bit later in life actually because you get to sort of be. You got a little bit more perspective on things. You got a little bit more patience.
Maybe you're a little less freaked out. I would imagine when you're 19, 20 and you're all of a sudden, there's a lot of...
Yeah, but
know.
Oh, I
you're
would
also
have
young
been.
and
I would have
naive,
been
too.
scared shitless if I'd done it at 21. I would have. Oh, what the fuck have I done? No.
Adeline's a lot of fun. She's one of my besties. We hang out. We were having fun the other day out in the yard.
Oh yeah. She
Him and I were
likes you for
drinking
some
beers.
reason.
This is your little one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Playing with. She has these little clay minions that they made.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah.
She runs around.
Running around the yard, showing off. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's good.
So,
Kids.
kids.
That's the future, man.
Would recommend. Yeah.
To totally recommend.
2 thumbs.
But I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, we're in very different places in our parenting, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because yours are quite a lot older
Yeah.
now. I mean, you're
22, 19, and 15.
Oh, you have 3?
3, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Busy.
I guess so. Valley guy, restaurateur, Chef Canada. Tell me just a little bit about. You probably mentioned it before in a podcast, but like, how did you get attention if you didn't have a restaurant?
Yeah, well,
to get on that
Master
show?
Chef Canada is home cooks. So if you
that's
have
what
any
that is.
formal training or any
Then you're
experience,
actually
you don't
not on.
qualify.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like Top Chef is like for the trained guys. So yeah, I was in farming, and family farming was going down. It was terrible. Like we were losing a lot of money, and I loved cooking and brewing. And the goal was to have a brewing company. But back then in Nova Scotia, you couldn't serve a whole pint without food.
Okay.
You could only serve little samplers. And how do you make a living
Doing samples?
Doing samplers. They've since changed the rule, but back 8-9 years ago, that was the situation. So I always loved to cook, but I knew if I'm going to do it on a small scale, I need to be able to sell pints and have some food. So I was preparing for that. This was my exit plan from the family farm. And I was posting pictures of food and beer on Instagram all the time. And I had about 1,000 followers. So back then that was pretty good for just food and beer. And then
Well, that got the attention of some of the producers?
Yeah.
Or did you apply?
Some people saw my stuff and heard that MasterChef Canada was looking for people, and there wasn't many people applying. And so I just got bombarded by a whole bunch of people I knew that said, you need to apply. And I said, I don't really have time for that. I didn't think it was, I'd never even seen the show. I wasn't really interested. And then my cousin's wife called me and said, no, you really need to. And I remember I was putting my daughter to bed, and I said, all right, I'll go fire off some applications. Sure. I just kept going to the next levels of.
Sure.
And it's not just about the food, right? They want story and someone who's not shy, to act a fool or whatever. And I'll give them that. Fine. I had fun. It was good. It was a great experience.
Did you win, or were you just on the show?
I was on the show first 2 or 3 episodes, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like one of the last people not to get the apron. So I was like, there's I think 11,000 applicants, and 40 of us went to Toronto.
Okay.
And then they had 14 aprons, and I was like one of the last ones not to get an apron.
They used a shot of you in the sting for the show, though, didn't you?
Yeah.
Get any royalties for that?
No.
Using your mug?
No, no, and they even own my recipes. Anything I cooked on there.
Jerks.
Yeah.
All right.
But I was cooking and had a cast iron pan in the oven with chicken in it. And my towel was gone. There's no oven mitts, and the clock's ticking. I had to get the food plated.
Did you burn your hand? Did you just
like
went
idiot?
for it?
So I opened the oven and I grabbed this cast iron pan and I yelled, "It burns!" like that. And the camera's right on me.
So they use that cut.
And it was on the commercial 680 times.
It burns.
It burns. A bunch of friends and they're drunk or whatever, they'll call me. It burns for years.
Do you own that? Could you put that on your face and it burns?
It burns. But what a dummy! All I had to do was take the tongs to get the chicken out of the pan.
Well, you weren't thinking
I wasn't thinking
time
that.
pressure.
Yeah, so I grabbed a cast iron pan of the oven.
Makes for good television.
I got really close to the EMTs. I had 3 cuts and a burn and an allergic reaction. So I met
Come
with
to
the
Roof
EMT.
Hound in Kingston. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, come here. I'll be at the emergency room, but come on in. Yeah.
The military base, I came in, and there's a group of fellows there sitting at the table, so that
Great
they must be
customers.
supporting you big time
huge
there.
time.
Yeah.
That's probably 75% of our business is the Air Force. I mean, that's a big economic driver here.
Yeah.
I think there's 5,000 jobs or 5,000 people or so connected with that.
How about that?
Yeah, it's big. Great people. Very supportive. And when the COVID hit and the restaurant got closed, they were the base as an organization and all the people were super supportive. They were ordering stuff to deliver. They were buying gift cards even when they had no idea when the restaurant was going to reopen.
Going to buy a gift card.
They really wanted this to stay in their community. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's a responsibility now. It's not. Some days you don't want to be in the restaurant business. You don't, because it's tough. Right. But I know what this does for the community. It gives them a place to be, something to do. They can come with their friends, coworkers after work. They can come with their wives or husbands. They can bring their families here. That's an important thing for the community and the families that we're supporting and the people that come in from other countries to work here. It's a lot of responsibility sometimes. Yeah. Once you start this ball rolling, there's a responsibility to keep it rolling.
I feel you're probably going to keep it rolling here for a little while.
I think so.
I think you're invested.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're not going anywhere.
No. My job may, like I said, will morph and change and develop a little bit, but it's not going anywhere.
My sister's in the Air Force, and she was actually stationed here years ago. She was a firefighter. Not too many females go into the firefighting trade, but she did 3 years. She got out, got a degree, went back in as a commissioned officer. So she just did a stint in Ramstein, Germany, 4 years at a big NATO base out there.
Oh, wow.
And she just got her next assignment, probably her last one. She doesn't know if she could take one more. Anyway, a lot of details. Bogota, Colombia, of all places. That's where she's at an embassy. So, yeah, if you go into the forces, and thank you for everyone who's in the forces, because it's something I don't want to do.
No, me either.
But, yeah, there's a chance to see the world and do many things. So having the base, right, it's a huge part of the valley. Like,
it really is.
This is a key part to making the valley stable.
And they're investing in it more. I believe there's a drone division coming.
Oh, that makes sense.
80 new jobs, high-tech jobs. And it's housing, everything around here. It's all benefits from that stuff. The little mall in Greenwood is one of the nicest small town malls in Nova Scotia, because, you know what I mean? Most malls are dying.
Yeah.
Not many malls are doing well.
This one is
This
actually
one does very
vibrant.
well, yeah. It's full.
Does it still have, what's it called, Ruggers? Is that the...
Rewards?
I don't know, is it a place for...
Ruse?
Ruse, is that what it was for the kids' sing?
I've taken my kid there a couple of times.
Rainy days, that place is packed.
I would imagine.
Yeah. No, it's a great community, and I love it because it's very easy to kind of break in socially, because the Air Force has so much turnover. You know, like a lot of small towns in Nova Scotia, it's a little bit hard to... Well, I guess the university would be... University town would be like that.
Similar.
Because there's a lot of turnover and people are used to making new friends. But if you're in a fishing village and you're trying to make new friends, it's kind of tough. Like, these friendships go back generations.
Now, the difference, maybe I'm wrong because I don't live here, but I always call Wolfville kind of a magnetic town, because people come and go. It's transient, university town, but people come back because they have such a good time. Yeah. And you see people maybe just come to visit or to start a family or whatever the case, right? Like, they don't think that they're going to spend more time in Wolfville after they leave, but they end up back. You see them all the time.
That kind of does
maybe
happen
here too?
Yeah, there's so many Air Force guys that retire and stay here because they liked it.
Sure.
They really liked it, yeah.
So I've taken a few guests to the military base over the last few years. I noticed on their website that they offer 1-hour sightseeing flights. Huh? So I said, listen, if I bring guests your way, would you take my guests up? They said, absolutely. So now I offer where it's at flying tours, right? So
boats, air, everything.
Why not, right?
Into There's the supernatural
ghost
I don't
tours. Sell a lot. I haven't sold one flying tour yet this year, but like it's available at least. Yeah. So I'll take you from the valley, like where I'm at, or wherever you are, and we'll go to 2 different places and go up flying for the hour or whatever. And that's just like I want to how the resources we have. How can we utilize them even more? How can we add more exposure to them? How can we keep growing on what cool things people are already doing, right?
And even if you're not a visitor, like if you're from here, like you can see things from a different perspective that you've never
seen
before.
Go up in the air. You've probably never seen the valley from the air. Going over Cape Split and Cape Blomidon and Grand Pré, the Dykelands from the air, it's incredible. It really is.
I grew up in Digby County my whole life, and I just went whale watching for the first time just a couple years ago.
Oh, how about that?
It was awesome.
But you're never a tourist in your own backyard. That's sort of the saying.
Should.
But you could be.
Should be.
People come from around the world to come to our valley. Yeah. Right? Jerome says we live in the most historically rich, amazing valley in all of North America. It's a grandiose, boisterous statement, but prove me otherwise, right? Like what other valley can boast it? And whatever, I don't care. Like I'm just going to keep saying it regardless if there's another valley. Because this is the one I'm focusing on. But so there's this level of history, but people, I worked at the Visitor Information Center in Wolfville back in 2008, and one of the first times I really realized that people do come from around the world to see what they have, what we have. Like people would come say, oh, mate, at Bay of Fundy, Minus Basin, want to see the highest tides. I said, great. How long do you have? People think it's coming in like a giant tidal wave. It would be very impressive, but very destructive if that was the case. But I do like taking guests to, say, Evangeline Beach to see the horizontal power of the bay. If they have a full day with me and they're tide focus or that they're interested, we'll go to the beach about 6.5 hours apart, high and low tide, and to get the same photo from the same perspective, right? Like, the tide's going to do the tide thing, and if you grew up here, it's just what it does. But if you didn't grow up here, that's fascinating, and I'm still fascinated by it, right?
Oh, it is. I find it fascinating.
Have you been in downtown Digby and you see the marina, like at low tide, it's on the mud, and these poles are sticking way, way up there. And the tourists are like, why didn't they pound those poles down? Like, oh, just come back in a few hours.
Right.
Because that marina will now be at the top of those poles. Yeah, it just slides up and down. It's amazing.
I haven't seen it anywhere else, but I'd love to if one day I get some ocean front with some rocks, right? who's the guy who made the rail line across our country? Is it Van Hoot, the coffee guy? Oh, it could be. Anyway, his home was at Minister's Island, just outside of St. Andrews, New Brunswick.
Okay.
Right. So to get to his house, it's a museum now. You can only access it at low tide because the road is on the ocean floor. Yeah. But when you get to the back of the property, there's a big turret, and you walk down inside the turret, and then you pop out on the rocks. And what he did years ago, he blasted a swimming pool in the rocks. Right. So the tide comes out, the tide goes in and out, but then all the water in the pool has been captured there. And now just wait for a few hours, and now that water's warmed up some nice. You'd have like a bathtub in rocks, right? And then that transition time when the tide's not coming up and the ocean water is kind of interacting with the pool water, I think that would be a pretty cool moment. But it was that concept that I saw, and anytime I get a chance to talk about it, I have to, because I think what Wolfville needs in the marina are the bathtubs, or trenches. So basically, you dig in the mud, a trench, a hole, a bathtub, line it with concrete. You're going to have to clean it out. Silt and sediment's going to gather, but it's increments. You clean it when you have to. But that's where you put your marina, right? Because there's no water in the Wolfville Harbor when the tide's out. Yeah. But if you made it accessible to boats that, hey, you can come to Wolfville and you can stay in our marina and your boat won't be on the mud, it's going to be in a pool. And how cool would that look, right? You look at the Wolfville Harbor, it's mud everywhere, but there's still boats in tubs of water. And then you charge these people the wazoo to be there to help pay for this whole thing. But you make Wolfville as accessible as possible. I think the rail trail, wonderful community asset from Grand Pré all the way down to Yarmouth. They say it gets, I haven't gone any further than Cambridge, Colebrook. Beyond that, I've been told it gets a little bit soft. There's some sandier soil and more ATV use, so it might not be ideal now for biking the whole way down. I don't know the details on that, but at least where I am, on my neck of the woods, that rail trail is used quite a bit. So I hope one day they extend it across the Gaspar River and have a dedicated bike lane to the city, to the valley. You got to dedicate bike lane into the valley. People are going to use it. Make this valley as accessible as possible. People are coming, right? So let's
especially you already have a lot of the infrastructure for that kind of thing.
That's right. That's right.
You really love what you do.
Well, there's more we can do. There's more we can do, right? Like our time is short, and I'm not going to do half of the ideas that I come up with. But if someone beats me to some of these things, great, because that means the community is going to benefit.
Well, that's right. Like we have a richer experience. Just I'm not upset when someone makes a great brewing company or restaurant or pub. I want to go. That's why I'm into this. I love this. I love to spend time in other places. Like it's not a competitive thing. It's building this community more richer.
I like what you said right there, because that is the wine industry, local industry in a nutshell right there. Like they do compete for the individual day-to-day dollar, but collectively they understand they're growing an industry, right? So the fact that there's 11 surrounding Wolfville, everyone benefits. You come to Wolfville, the valley, for wine, not just for one particular place. And now how many breweries are there in the province? I think there's 70 maybe.
Yeah, but we're losing some.
Well, yeah, because there's too many, or I don't know.
And COVID and all that stuff was really hard economically.
But it's gonna level out, and there's gonna the stability is hopefully happening more and more. Have you ever done Ross's podcast, Drink Nova Scotia Dry?
A couple times,
Isn't he a good guy? Yeah, he's a ghost in the Ghost Walk, and his partner in crime, Ian.
Right, that's where I know him from.
Yeah, exactly. He's a ghost, and Ian. I don't know if he's been here. The two of them normally do it together.
Got the accent.
Exactly, the British guy. He's a ghost in the Ghost Walk also.
Right on.
There's quite the ghostly network, but I like what they're doing.
From somewhere.
Yeah, they do a good job.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've been a guest on his a couple of times. So Ross is my tech guy. One of the concepts of the Ghost Walk that I think we could do more of are virtual ghost walks, right? There's a global interest, correct me if I'm wrong, in Nova Scotia folklore, right? The whole Curse of Oak Island, the TV show and Discovery, that does wonders for our province. It's more eyeballs on us, and anything to bring more attention to what we're doing, everyone wins, right? So it all, I think, starts with Helen Crichton. She wrote the Blue Nose Ghosts back, I think, 1956 or whatever. I don't know if you are aware of this book, but I don't know, maybe I haven't done all my research to know if there's anyone prior to, but I give her a lot of credit for kind of starting this folklore ghost story genre within her province. She actually had a contract to go around the province collecting folk songs. So she would talk to old musicians around the province and, record their songs. But then you're done singing the song and you're sitting and, get on talking. And next thing you know, everyone has a ghost story. Everyone has something to contribute. So her book is literally little snippets, a little compilation of going around the province, talking to people with what they experienced. And she says a good ghost story often is very short. Like it happened only once and may never ever happen again. Yeah. But you have to look at the integrity of the informant. Are they temperate in their behavior, or has their past been checkered by a superstitious environment? Meaning, like, can you believe the person or not? Well, are they normally a sane, regular guy, or are they out there looking for attention? So you might not believe them so much if that's the case.
But it's either way, it could still be entertaining.
Exactly. Yeah. But all this is built up to like this interest in Nova Scotia and folklore and stories. And Vernon Oikel is an author. He's written tons of books on the topic, and there's many others as well. Stephen Scaft, I think I'm saying his name right. He does a daily journal, like a post on Facebook, and he's written this really cool book. And he starts with a poem, "The Dead Die Twice." And I can't recite it completely, but basically saying that the second time you die is when the last person says your name. Yeah. Right? So you go to these cemeteries and like you can read over tombs and like read their names, right? Yeah. When's the last time that name has been read, right? So the dead die twice. It's quite the poem.
Wow.
Anyway, where I'm going with all this is I think there's an interest globally in what we have to offer. Yeah. So Studio Z, I don't know if you know where that is, at the Al Whittle Theatre upstairs. Okay. There's a little underutilized little studio space. It seats about 35 people, and they have a temporary wall you can take in and out from the side of the building. Anyway, you can subdivide that little studio space, put a big green screen in the back. Ross is my tech guy. Yeah. So we've proven the concept that it works. We've had like 4 virtual shows. So we're doing what we do, but now the images, the people, the places that we're talking about are being projected in behind us on the green screen.
People don't have to physically walk
They don't have to physically be there. Now, we can have a live studio audience as well, but people can tune in from at home. So I'd love to develop more of that. And now that I follow a lot of gravekeepers around the world, because there's, this isn't a unique thing. It's people do this all over. I think we could get them involved as well, like through the power of the internet. Like one of the ideas, and hopefully you'll see it this year. Who knows? But for Valentine's, like everyone has some pretty strong love stories, right? Any ghost walk guy has a love story. Yeah. And ours, the best ones here, of course, Evangeline, right? Longfellow kind of really made the globe aware of the deportation of the Acadians in 1755. But there's also Ebenezer Bishop, who walked across the Minas Basin for love. And I tell his story more than any other. Yeah. So those are the 2 strong local love stories. But then you invite other gravekeepers to share their love story, and then you tell them to promote it in their audience, and the next thing you know, this concept could grow. So
high-tech ghosts.
Yeah. So why can't we do that, right? Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. That'd be cool, though.
Yeah, it'd be very cool.
I think so.
Yeah. So tell people how to find your content, like how to find your schedule and stuff like that. Like you must have some your tours, your ghost tours, all that stuff.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm not the best marketer. I could always do more in that aspect, but
we'll put up some links too when we
sure.
post this.
ValleyGhostWalks.com has the schedule, and you can buy tickets on the website.
How's sales going? Like, there's still room to get in for some.
For sure, yeah. We've had some good crowds this year. We only did one Halls Harbor Ghost Walk this year, and with all the attention Halls Harbor got, we had a crew of 70 people around Halls Harbor. That was a really special show, and we had 63 in Windsor in early August, and we had 40 people up at the UNESCO site, the Landscape Grand Prix site. Okay. Last night, only 16 at the Grand Prix Winery, but it was still successful. The next show, I don't know when this gets posted, but the next show is going to be on September the 12th at the Charles McDonald Concrete House Museum. So it's a Halls Harbor show, but it's a ghost talk. There's a difference between ghost walks and ghost talks. Ghost talks are stationary, right? Yeah. And so that museum, the Charles McDonald House Concrete Museum, I don't know if you've been in it, but it's a work of art. Like, it's amazing. This guy started a concrete factory before World War I. Everyone laughed at him. Next thing you know, the war started, and the need for concrete really went high. So he did all right. Yeah. And he was a socialist, right? He never really paid his employees a wage. Instead, he had a basket of money in the middle of the shop, and he put the money there and he said, you take what you need whenever you need it. That's how he paid his employees, right?
Cheapers.
I know. Can you
There's a lot of
imagine?
trust there.
I know. And then when he came to retire, he just gave the keys to his foreman and said, "There you go, the shop's yours," and he just like walked away.
Wow.
So do you know the Ferry concrete cottages? Huntington Point, just outside of Hulls Harbor.
No.
Well, he built 5 of these cottages, no blueprints, just like imagination, driftwood, and paint and concrete.
Wow.
And 4 of the 5 are still standing. The one that got bulldozed many years ago was the Teapot Cottage, and they had a fundraiser this year, and they had 30 local artists create mini teapots, and then you could buy these teapots for a couple $100 or whatever, and you didn't know which artist did what until you bought it, and so that's a creative way for them to earn a few bucks. Maud Lewis's house, rightfully so, gets a lot of attention in Nova Scotia for being like one of the most creative art houses, and it's at the museum there in Halifax. But one could argue Charles's house is like right there as well. The only difference is no one's picking up those cottages and moving it. They're staying in place, right? Yeah. But yeah, so we're going to do a ghost talk there on September the 12th, and then the next week, Wolfville on the 19th. Anyway, there's 2 more Windsor shows in October, and another Kentville show, another Wolfville show, and then the North Grand Prix show.
Right up to Halloween?
Right up to Halloween. Select Thursdays. I used to do every Thursday from Apple Blossom till Halloween, but that's a lot of effort. And so select Thursdays, make it a little bit more scarce. And
So I went all the way up to Wolfville last year on Halloween. I think I bought a ticket, and then it was so damn cold I couldn't do it. I wasn't prepared. I think it was like 3 degrees that night, and I just wasn't dressed for it. I'm like, I can't do this, because I know it's like you're locking in for 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's cold if you're not dressed.
Gotta wear those long johns.
Where do you find clothes like that late? I'm like, I think I'm just gonna have an old fashioned and some.
You went to the library
puffed,
pub. That's what you did.
No, I went to Troy.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
you get the beef there for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyway,
it's a fun time. Like, I really recommend people take it.
I appreciate that you know me from that, and that works for me. You know, like I've done some higher profile things in the valley when it comes to the wine bus and the Grapevine and the ghost walks and where it's at, and you know, that's how I'm not a good employee. I'm not, like, as you mentioned, I've been let go from the last 4 things I've been involved with, right? Like, and my heart's not
this
in
is the launch of spooky season, so I thought this would be a great thing, you know, like the ghost tours, and we love the creative side of it. Like, you've made something.
There's a lot of art in this valley, and
17 years
I'm just fitting in. I'm just doing my thing, and
that's cool.
Yeah.
And like Ben's a short story writer, author, and writing some things. It's cool, like, to see people just take a stab at stuff.
Yeah. There's
you never know what might come.
So this podcast, this building, you know, you like the size of the brewery. You're not going to open up another location anytime soon.
No. I want to be more into events, stuff like that. More into accommodations. Toying with maybe turning the Digby property into a wedding venue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not getting younger. I love the restaurant business, but I don't think I can be 100% responsible for a restaurant.
It's a young person's game as well, man. It's a young person's game. Like, being on your feet all day when you get our age is worse.
And you can't just be vacant. You just can't be a non-present. You got to be present. So.
As you drive back and forth from the city or and you get late at night, you said that you got the technique, you do slap yourself, you know, like, and I've been there, I've done that, but I got one for you. I don't know if you've ever done the inner thigh pinch. Have you ever done that one? Well, that one sucks.
Yeah.
It keeps you up though.
Just get like a clamp, put it on there.
You just need your fingernails. Just inner thigh, it sucks.
How about look after myself and sleep properly?
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Because as I get older, like, I'm realizing to be efficient and healthy and happy and sane and for your relationships, personal, professional, all that, you have to look after yourself. You have to. I've learned that a lot in the last year, like diet, sleep, all that kind of stuff.
It comes with age.
It does. Well, hopefully you learn it, or you don't get to enjoy old age. You know, like a lot of people work themselves into an early grave.
Well, that's the trade-off for youth, right? Wisdom. Hopefully we are learning as we go. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And so you're a busy guy too. I mean, what do you do to look after yourself?
Well, I like bicycling, but this bad hip of mine, you know, the hills in Wolfville, where I live in the Gaspereau, the other day actually drove my bike down to the Dykelands to still go on a bike ride, but just not attack the hill because it's too big of a strain. And I hate that because I've always been active. I always played soccer, but I haven't played soccer now in 6 years because, my hip is on the way to hip replacement, right? Like you'll see me limping. I don't love it. I don't, but
it's just age. You just get
I wore it out.
Have you done yoga or anything like that to kind of help keep it?
I mean, I like stretching a little bit, but you know what I actually got? It's called a stealth trainer.
Stealth trainer.
Yeah. So it's gamifying your workout. It's a physical piece of plastic, looks like a big triangle, padded things. It's all about planking. All right.
Okay.
But there's a cutout in the plastic for your phone, either horizontal or vertical. And if you tap into the app that you can pay a monthly fee for, you play games and just subtle, like it's on a swivel. This piece of plastic is on a swivel, so a little bit of forward motion, left, right, just tilting of your phone changes, the gameplay, whatever. Cool. And so now you're just blasting your core, working.
So you're planking while you're playing the game.
Exactly.
That's a good idea.
It's called a stealth trainer. And it's worth it.
That's good.
That's a fun thing you can just have in your room and do. You don't have to play with the app. You can just talk on the phone and put the phone there and you're talking to someone and you're at least being active. Right?
That's cool.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, I do a lot of yoga for my health and stuff, so that's my thing, but that's
helps to, I find, staying loose really prevents injuries.
Well, there's that cold contrast, right?
Loose and strong.
Yeah.
Like loosen it up with the yoga, train a little bit with weights to keep it strong. And I'm finding I'm 47, oldest I've ever been, and I don't nearly get hurt as much as I used to.
Do you think you can beat me in an arm wrestle right now?
I won't, because I would probably hurt myself. And that's a thing that comes with wisdom.
Because I was going to say, let's end this thing with an arm wrestle.
That male ego has to take a back seat so you can still work. Because I had a pinched nerve in my shoulder.
Oh, okay, all the excuses now.
No, but listen, this is vulnerability here. Stupid me. I had worked all spring to get it good, and then my son was in with a bunch of his friends drinking, and he said, let's arm wrestle. And me being dumb, I did, and I hurt myself. I'm like, the male ego has to take a back seat sometimes.
I also do know someone who did break their arm wrestling.
Yeah, and these are 19-year-old kids. I didn't want a 19-year-old kid to beat me.
All right, let's do a slap fest. No, I'm not doing that.
I also did get beaten by a girl at arm wrestling once when I was I'm not doing that again.
Blow to the
That's
ego
a lot to admit on the air. We're going to edit that out.
Listen.
No, it's fine. I ended up marrying her.
There we go. There's the happy ending of that story. This has been fantastic. What else you want to know from me? You want to know anything else? Because
just what's coming up and any future plans. But I guess
I think we kind of covered most things there. And the Valley's awesome. Great. Come on a tour where it's at. And,
I'm definitely gonna. We should go on a tour, Ben.
Yeah,
the ghost tour.
Yeah, I'm up.
We can do
that
too. Yeah,
we'll have to book it and do it and dress warm and.
Absolutely.
Really looking forward to that.
Hey, you're from here, right? Mm-hmm. If we're going to do this Tremont Cemetery show again, I like to develop one. I don't know if we're going to do it on time for the show, but I like to develop, say, one Greenwood area ghost. What historical person or story should we focus on? You're the local around here, so you think on that.
I'm not from here, but I do know
spend
people.
Some time. Yeah, so you spread that. What if you're going to do one, bring one person to life? Who would that be?
Of all history?
No, in this region. Area, in this region here. So that's your homework.
Yeah.
You chew on that.
I bet you there's some interesting stories about the beginning of the base.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because when did it start? Between First and Second World War, maybe?
Could very well have been.
Yeah. I think I saw some paintings somewhere of some There's a museum here too. There's a
aviation
museum.
There is, yeah. It's cool. I haven't taken any guests there yet, but it is kind of neat.
You might be able to pick up some information there, but there's some interesting stuff.
There's one more little story involving the base that involves one thing I did years ago. I'm in the province because of the Katimavik program. I don't know if you remember that program. Either you know it or you have no idea what it is. But I was a participant in the summer of '99 down in Clare. I didn't know a thing about Acadians or Nova Scotia, and just that summer just opened my eyes up. This is where I want to be.
I grew up in Weymouth, so next door, the last English community before Clare. It's great. I'm 6% Acadian, but I went to the Acadian Festival.
Did you go down there to Yarmouth?
Yarmouth, yeah, it was great. It was huge.
That photograph of Main Street there, Yarmouth, just with so many thousands of Acadian with flags. I mean, that vibrancy. I bet Yarmouth has never seen something like that before.
And then there was a big concert up at the airport that night, and the runway was covered with probably 7,000 to 9,000 people.
Amazing.
And then the hangar door opens up and this smoke and the lights come out and the whole inside of this airplane hangar had this stage and it was just music after music. The Acadie is so musical.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't understand a word they were saying. It's all French, but it was a really cool experience.
Your 6% didn't pick up a word here and there?
Oh, I can pick up a word here.
All
But
right.
I can pick up about 6%
All right.
of the words. But a lot of the Acadians have the Fringlish anyway,
The
right? Like there's a
Franglais,
little
yeah.
bit of
Je veux une can de beans?
a little bit of English in there. And growing up next door, I can understand a lot of words,
Yeah.
but my sentence structure and grammar is just not there.
Yeah, French grammar is very different to English
Yeah,
grammar.
I can't speak it. I can order a beer. That's about it.
Well, that's a good step.
Yeah.
That's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah. But it's an amazing community. I mean, Nova Scotia has so much.
Yeah. Wolfville's
History
Wolfville, but
and-
then Lunenburg and Bedeck and
Yeah.
Annapolis Royal and
Yeah,
right?
and the
Like-
indigenous communities, and I grew up in a small Black community.
Okay.
Like, yeah, like there's so much for rural Nova Scotia. There's a lot of diversity.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
pretty
there
cool.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of history.
Nooks and crannies
there.
everywhere. Got to keep exploring.
Yeah.
So they said you can. I was going to be a project leader after Saskatchewan. You could go to northern Manitoba or the East Coast. I said that's easier. Going to the East Coast.
Nice.
So I was in southern New Brunswick. That's where I found Jerome's outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And my first group made some headlines, right? Because we were out in Oak Haven and outside of St. Stephen, right on the Bay of Fundy. And so when the tide was out, you could walk to an island, Spoon Island. And when the tide came in, of course, right? Like in the winter, the ground's frozen, so it's much easier to walk to the island.
Right.
But you tell all your kids, like, listen, you can't go to the island. Like, although the tide is out, like you can't. That's danger, right?
Right.
But of course, within the first month of all these Katimavik kids within the house, I go down to have dinner, and 3 of them aren't there. Well, where are they? Well, finally they admitted to me, well, they made it to Spoon Island. And so anyway, they got trapped with the incoming tide. They actually started to walk through the water and decided to turn back, which was
Yeah.
a step in the right direction. But now they're
Spending the night.
frozen feet though from the knees down, and it was like minus 30 that night. Like it was
Holy
legit,
smokes.
right? And
There's no shelters or anything out there?
no, it's just an island, right? There's
So
not.
what
They
happened?
tried to start a fire. The one guy sacrificed his shirt. He's like, I'm going to burn my shirt, which is noble of him, but no wood caught because it was winter and everything was wet. Anyway, they were looking for a metal bottom boat in St. Stephen because there's ice in the bay. It took them a long time. So actually, a chopper apparently was dispatched from Greenwood and was on its route, and finally they found a boat, so the chopper went back. Anyway, the next day, the newspaper, Katimavik stranded Spoon Island, so they used that incident in training for future Katimavik groups of what not to do.
That's why they call it Spoon Island. They had the spoon to stay
That's
warm.
the only way. There we go. That's a good way to end that. Man, yeah. So Les has been an
thank
absolute
you. Yeah,
blast.
it's been
Thanks
fun,
for the
man.
beer, and
Yeah, thank you.
I might walk out of here with some Bar Dog Stout.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Thanks. Awesome.
Right on, man.
I encourage everybody to check out all the projects you're involved with, and thank you so much for promoting this great area.
It's not hard to say good things about this place.
It's awesome.
I love what you're doing.
It's,
I'm gonna
it's
watch
always
more of
cool
your
when someone
podcasts.
comes from away and has the appreciation for it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, if you don't have appreciation, then you just got your head in the sand,
You
right?
found the right job for you. You're passionate about
I
it.
hated that question when I was younger. What are you going to do when you grow up? Because I couldn't answer it.
You're not grown up.
Well, maybe I'm now.
Peter Pan forever.
But 5 years ago, where it's at, right? Like
Yeah.
the tour guiding, like this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So let's keep doing it.
That's awesome. We appreciate it. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe, or if you'd like to support us, please visit Refound Brewing Company at 573 Main Street, Kingston, or buy our product wherever it's available, including our Foolishly Optimistic IPA at your local NSS. Thank you.